do this, but Erik is hosting. I was gonna take the night off, but I guess I'll hang around. Let's see. That was pretty epic at no sellouts tonight. Okay. I'm sure there's a lot to talk about tonight. I'm gonna miss out on that. That sucks. Alright. Hi someone. Hey Roseanne. Yeah. Damn. I want to be talking tonight, but we'll see. I might come back later. Erik, stop tweeting. Join. Let's see. Erik is just a tweet maniac. He's probably got at least 1 million retweets or something. Let's see. I guess mic check is here. Hi Jeremy. Hi Troxney. Hi Ditzy. Yeah. Very funny yesterday. Hi Eolis. You guys trying to make me laugh yesterday. What's going on with you guys?
Hello there.
Hey. So we're waiting for Erik to host.
Sorry.
What was that?
That was embarrassing. I forgot I didn't have a shirt on.
That's fine. It didn't hurt us too much. I'm just kidding.
My shame. Also, this is the first time I've seen you without a beard.
Really? Yeah. I don't know what to say about that.
No,
I think it takes everybody by surprise. They get to see my little double chin, triple chin, quadruple chin. I don't know, it's pretty big.
If it's any consolation to you, I'm still trying to work off the one I developed in college, so it's good. It's all good.
Yeah. Like I say on my other videos, it's what I say, not how I look. Sorry, it's not how I look while I'm saying it. Okay.
Yeah, that's a side project. that's just a side project.
I don't know. Maybe I look more respectable with a beard. Man, I can't talk today. I think that's why I wanted a night off.
Well, if it's any relation, at least you have somebody to talk to, so it doesn't lead to just one person talking to Chad.
Oh yeah. I'm fine.
Hi, how's it going?
Hey Erik, I'm sure you're excited.
Oh my God, triggered!
Erik's so giddy with excitement, he's still happy.
Oh yes. It was an amazing no sellouts. I wore the t-shirt. At least the NSA knows now.
Okay.
Oh, by the way, look at my 4 awards. My name is Jason Goodman. I have 4 awards. I want to be very proud of my 4 awards.
So what awards was it that he won?
I don't know. It's just one day I saw like a live stream like real quick. I was like, I didn't really want to watch it, but I showed it. But Jason Goodman showed off like his 4 awards, and I thought it was like very very Hollywood. So,
all right.
I was like, oh, look at my 4 awards.
At least the people in Hollywood.
4 awards.
At least in the case for people of Hollywood, you actually have to work hard for that. You have to work hard for those, as well as suck up to the production company. But that's aside the point.
Yeah, but I thought it was funny though.
But like, there's some effort that goes into that. But Jason, what did you win? Unless you had been winning Pulitzers left, right, and center, the remainder is kind of a feel-good award. You do realize that, right?
Yeah. Hey Ariel! Hey Brad!
Hey everyone.
Hey Brad.
Hey
Erik.
Can everyone hear me all right?
Hey, new and improved Yvonne.
I'm gonna have to start.
You know who's also triggered? Anita Sarkeesian. Triggered.
Actually, I'll say this. I for one am fucking glad that somebody fucking put Sargon of Akkad in his fucking place.
I like Sargon. What don't you like about Sargon?
Oh, I love Sargon. I think he's great.
I don't know who you're all talking about. Who is that?
That's a long story.
Oh.
But you know,
Not long story.
I will say this: like, if there was like a male version of Anita Sarkeesian spewing out the same things, I would disagree with that guy as well, because it just, I mean, her calling Breath of the Wild sexist was highly inappropriate because I love Zelda Breath of the Wild and I love Zelda.
I'd have to understand where what the contention for that criticism is, because honestly, that's my problem with my big problem with Anita Sarkeesian is that it's not so much that I disagree with her general broad points. It's so much as the fact that she's very sloppy with constructing her arguments. So
Someone needs to debate her.
She doesn't like to debate. The thing I will say about the entire situation with Anita Sarkeesian, there is a video of her where she's lying about having played video games, how she loves video games, and then she had some type of event where she says, well, I don't really play video games, but I've studied video games. Me and Bram could probably talk about this all night. The incident with the entire Gamergate thing, there's some good and bad. I think the bad part was she was doxxed. A lot of people in the female community and the gamers and game developers were doxxed or threatened, and that was uncool. But now I think there's a lot going on with that, and I think the tact that Anita Sarkeesian uses isn't very good. I think it might have been because of that. And Bram, I'd love for you to chime in. For me, I think you got to take another look at it from what happened back then and to the current perspective of.
Well,
I would say that. Oh, go ahead.
Can everybody hear me all right?
Yeah, we can hear you, Bram.
My perspective is this. I understand that there aren't a lot of women in the gaming community. That's just a fact. There aren't. And yes, there does need to be some changes made so that isn't what's the point I'm looking for?
Well, it isn't so much of a guy's club.
Male centered, which can be off-putting to a lot of women. I completely understand that. But
see, I'm a weird girl because I've never let that put me off of it. I mean, I would be in there kicking guys' butts in the arcades, but it was rare because most of the girls that you would see in arcades were like the girlfriends of the guys that were just tagging along, the same way you would see men tagging along for the women shopping.
Sure.
I mean, with me, my girlfriend, my girlfriend loves video games. She's just exactly like me. We have so much in common. We play video games with each other. Right. We really do love each other, and we love video games as well. And like she's very, very vocal about, you know, being totally anti-Anita.
All right. Let Bram finish. I think he was still continuing.
Okay. Sorry about that.
I was just saying that I do think that there are some concessions that need to be made to be a little more accommodating, because it's always better when it's more inclusive. The more people we can bring in, the better the community is. I mean, it's the same thing in politics. I mean, the more people we can bring in and communicate with them, the better we become. I mean, it's just the way it is.
Yeah. And I'll add to this. So people who want to get caught up, you guys can watch what happened at VidCon. You could watch it through Hard Bastard when he went over it. You could watch it through Warski. If you guys never watched Warski, go ahead and watch Warski. He does a lot of stuff on social justice warrior stuff, and he's kind of on the other side, but more of on the side where, hey, we just want to talk, we want to debate. And you've got the SJW side who don't want to debate. They're kind of elitist bunch. And you've got the anti-SJW side who are also elitist on the other side, which is horrible. And so you've got these two factions that are actually gained a lot of followers and fans, and they want to actually just kind of communicate and debate and talk, because once they actually did that, like, you're gonna have Francesca on Warski's live stream tomorrow, and that's a big deal because they've been kind of at each other for like months.
A big deal. That is a big deal.
Yeah, and so it's nice to hear both sides and how they want to talk about how everything went down. And right now, I think everyone talking to each other is great. Like,
Absolutely.
100%.
anyways, I'm gonna take off. I'll probably visit in a while. Eric, you got the comm, and all right, I'll talk with you guys later.
See you later, Yvonne.
Thank you, Iban. Take care. See you in a bit.
Take care, Ivan.
I'm gonna bring out my Triggered amiibo. Yeah, I named him Triggered because every time he sees Link, he gets so triggered. Like I just think when I play games, I just think of like humorous things. Like I think of like, you know, the Guardian. Pretty much every time he sees Link, he gets so triggered. Because I like to put humor into my games, though.
Yeah.
Like, triggered! Ooh, Link, triggered!
So, Eric, what is this chat for tonight? What I missed the no sellouts, so I don't know what they did tonight.
Oh, it was good tonight. We had Art Bastard, we had Niko House,
Nice.
H.A. Goodman, and yeah, it was awesome.
Nice.
It was a good show. It was a really good show.
That sounds good.
Oh, it's fantastic.
Well, yeah, you got called out a couple of times there.
And I uploaded the video. It was a surprise. It was a surprise that, you know, I wanted it to be a surprise.
Well done.
Thank you. Greatly appreciate it.
So what's the topic tonight?
What would be a good topic for tonight? Does anyone have any interesting topics they would like to talk about?
Preferably not VidCon, because if I do, I'm just going to end up on a giant rant fest that's probably going to get me hated by half the audience.
We could ask the chat what they want to talk about. Oh,
okay.
Is Stevie coming on?
Oh, is Steve coming?
Yes, Stevie. She said she went to that Bernie rally up in West Virginia.
Oh,
okay.
I can't wait to hear that.
To hear what happened. And she said she's going to get on in a minute. So
Right.
let's let her start that and tell us her experience, and then we can respond.
Right.
That sounds good.
Yeah.
Actual productivity.
That would be awesome. Because I would really be curious to hear everything that she saw. That's such an unusual area of the country, and there's a lot of misconceptions and, you know, misinformation that comes from there. So it'd be cool to have it firsthand.
Hey, Forsaken, how's it going?
Not bad. Can you hear me? All right.
Yeah.
Yes, we can.
Hey, James is in here too.
Cool.
That's
Oh, we're getting more people in the house.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fire it up.
Triggered.
Trigger it up.
All the triggers.
Yeah, I had the Sunday from hell though.
Uh-oh.
Really.
Oh.
Yeah, I had a storage unit, and in the first week of June, I got a notice that they were going to be tearing down 2 of the buildings, including my storage unit. Everything had to be out by the end of the month, so I had to look for another storage unit that, you know, wasn't more money and that was the same size. So finally got something, booked it about a week and a half ago, and they were giving the truck for free.
That's good, at least.
Yeah, well, you had to pay they were giving the rental free, and you had to pay the insurance, and you had to pay for your own gas and anything over 25 miles. And but when we got there, it turned out that by mistake they double booked the truck. So she called U-Haul, but this had us running really late. She called U-Haul and asked if they had a truck. She got back to me and said, "Okay, well, we're going to cover the whole cost of the truck. We're going to have one reserved for you from U-Haul, so we're paying the whole truck. You don't have to pay the insurance. You don't have to pay the mileage." And so that worked out, except it took, by the time we were going to start in the morning, we didn't get started for hours later. And then we get the truck packed with the first load, get down to where we rented the storage unit. Somebody put a lock on the storage unit we rented, and we couldn't get in there. And so they were trying to, the U-Haul where I rented the second storage unit was trying to drill out the lock and get us in there. 2 hours waiting around while they were trying to get that open. Finally, they had to give us another storage unit. We were trying to be done by like 5.
Wow.
We were still going like 10 o'clock at night in the rain. It started raining. It was just one disaster after another.
Jeez.
And nobody had any sleep either the night before.
Yeah.
So, yeah, crazy day.
I know that you were talking about the that whole situation in the chat one night, and I was like, oh, I wish we had somebody in the wolf pack to come up there and help you out.
Yeah, well, we managed, and then I had to try and find movers. I couldn't get the movers. Then we called the last minute, but we ended up moving the heavy stuff ourselves.
Yeah.
Just yeah, pretty bad. Everybody's in pain from stuff, and but it's done. At least it's done.
Yeah, that's good. That seems to be such a trend, not just with like storage units, but with apartments and all kinds of buildings. It's like they'll either tear them down or try to renovate them and charge way more. That just seems to be the trend now, is always to jack the prices up no matter what. I don't know how people afford to live half the time. I really don't. I mean, the area that I live in here is super expensive, and there's no way, if I wasn't sharing the split level with my parents here, I wouldn't be able to live in this area.
I know.
And not to be able to save anything. Yeah, I could scrape, but it's ridiculous the prices that things cost now to live. I don't know how people do it.
I don't know. I run in the red every month, and the only reason I can do it is because I had some money left over after my mom's funeral.
Mm.
And from the money she had, and chipping away at it little by little because it's coming higher than my income. I'm chipping away at that money every month.
Yeah. There's a proposed property tax increase in my county, and they're actually having a tax revolt right now, like all the residents, because they're proposing to double the taxes on a lot of the properties. Yeah, it's insane. It's actually quite insane. The thing is that this is a strange area. It's like I grew up not far from here at all. So I remember it when I was a kid, and now I'm seeing it now. And they're trying to cram all this industry and all this business in here now. They just clear cut these three massive chunks of forest land so that they can put, housing, and there's a Mercedes, business that's going to be going in here. I don't think it's actual manufacturing, but it's like all their marketing offices and stuff are going to be coming in this area. And as a result, it jacks all the prices up because they think, all these people with all this money are coming in here. They don't realize that a lot of the people living here are retirees in older houses, and they are on fixed incomes or Social Security. They can't afford to have their taxes increased double like that. So, no, I just see that all over. I mean, it's not just here. This is happening all over the country. Pricing people out of being able to just live. When I rented my apartment 10 years ago, when I was living in Portland, Oregon, when I first moved there, it was in Tigard, which is a, you know, kind of a suburb of Portland. But because the city is compact, it doesn't take that long to get around it. But it was only a 485 when I moved in that apartment. Nice 2-bedroom, almost 1,000 square feet. Now that same apartment has more than doubled. It's over 1,000 for the same unit, and they haven't upgraded or anything. It's just that's what's happened across the country in a matter of only 10 years.
Wow.
It's insane. I don't know how people afford to do it. I'm like, I couldn't live there now. That's crazy. I mean, it's just, I think that's a real thing is, you know, it's like people can't, you know, once they've paid the basics of where they live, where they, you know, driving, insurance, how in the world did they save anything? How do you even eat? It's just, there's no balance. There's no accounting for real life in there. It's
no. This is why it is so vital that we get involved in local politics, because unless we make our voices heard, this isn't going to change, and it's just going to get worse.
Yeah.
I know. I'm terrified that I might, if I have to move from this apartment, I'm not going to find anything I can afford. I don't know what I'm going to do. It took me so long to find this, and I've lived here for like 10 years now. And my landlord, he's only raised my rent $45 in that whole time. You know,
Wow.
because he tries to keep it down as much as he can.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but if I have to move, I'm screwed. You know, because I'm not going to be able to find anything I can afford.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that's the thing. See, a lot of times, like what I experienced in Oregon, what they did, because they had people like that too, where they weren't going to jack the prices up, and they weren't going to do that to people. And so what they'll do is whoever owns the property, they'll fire who's there, who's, you know, not being a greedy bastard, and they get rid of them, and they'll rehire somebody that is, you know, somebody that's a lot nastier and doesn't mind ripping people off. They'll do that a lot. And yeah, so where I live right now, it's in, as somebody asked, it's in Sandy Springs, Georgia, which is, yet again, it's a suburb of Atlanta downtown proper. And it's, you know, when I was a kid, it was a nice kind of area to live in. It wasn't that expensive. It was laid back, lots of trees, you know, for a place that had, you know, action and city stuff around it. And now they're just cutting things down left and right. And on the news, you know, they'll talk about how now, you know, the coyotes are everywhere. You see them walking down the street now because they tear down all this woodland. And so you've got this huge influx of wild animals that have nowhere to go. And so, of course, what will end up happening to them is they'll just kill them all, you know, because these idiots all call animal control, and the soccer moms will all flip out, and, you know, little Brandon might get bit by the coyote. We got to call them animal control, you know, so they'll kill all the animals. You know, it's not like they had a choice, but that's what'll happen. And it's just tragic. I hate it. It makes me want to just move to the country, like,
yeah,
away from it. Yeah, I hate development. They call it construction, but I call it destruction because it really isn't making anything better.
Gentrification.
There's a lot of that here. There's a lot of that here. It's rich white people with more money than sense. That's what we have a lot of around here, and it's very annoying. I don't like it.
I wonder what's the alternative to gentrification besides letting everything get more and more run down. You fix it up, they raise the rents, they raise the prices, everything. But you don't fix it up, and people are living in housing that becomes unsafe, unsightly, you know, because it just gets more and more run down. How do you meet in the middle so that people can still afford it, and yet the properties can be kept up and fixed up?
Well, I mean, I have a friend, and she was living in Norcross, which is maybe like a 20-minute drive from here, and she said that literally all they were doing in her old apartment complex was like putting in a new refrigerator, which wasn't even really necessary, or putting in a new countertop, which she didn't even need. You know, it's like they're making upgrades a lot of the time in places that are not necessary. They're just doing it for the purpose of saying, look, we fixed something, and now we're going to charge you $300-400 more. It's the price that they raise it is completely out of line with what they actually did to improve it, and that's what I'm seeing happening. Hey, James. Hey,
how's it going?
Hello.
Hey, AJ.
Got your webcam working.
But not so much microphone.
Webcam working.
Oh, wait. No. Your speakers are working. Oh, God. I do not. I have a lot more energy than I thought I would. I just worked 9 hours today.
Oh, I'm incredibly tired today.
I do not. I have a lot more energy. Oh, wow. Wait, James.
What's up?
Oh, there we go. Oh, your stream is playing in the background. You didn't know.
Your YouTube.
Yeah.
Yeah, the YouTube.
Fuck. Sorry, guys.
No, it's okay.
It's okay.
I'm the joy. Damn proud of it.
We've just been sitting here talking about the high cost of living.
We are?
Yeah, I just.
You know,
I live
honestly,
in California.
Yeah, me too.
Oh.
Yeah, so Graham and I live in Cali.
Yeah.
And we have to pay a lot for freaking everything.
It's bad.
I mean, everything.
The whole state of California is more expensive just because it's California. It's out of control. I've been out there. I actually almost considered moving there back in the day, but yeah, it's crazy expensive. It doesn't even matter if you're in a major city or not. Taxes are really high.
Yeah. Well, everything. It's just milk, gas, food, you name it.
James,
Everything.
what area, Brown? Where are your
That's
areas?
what happens when you settle your cities in freaking deserts.
Good point.
What cities or state, city, county, where are you?
It's just like LA, please just set up some fucking distillation centers.
Wait, where's Graham? Graham, where are you at?
I'm here in Orange County, Lake Forest, Orange County.
Okay.
Oh, we're neighbors.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm just outside of Irvine.
Okay.
Oh, shit. He's right down the street. I could throw a rock and hit his window.
Maybe don't actually do that.
No, let's.
Who's that?
That's James causing trouble again.
Oh, shit. Okay, so I emailed Hard Bastard, and he emailed me back that he might show up sometime.
That'd be nice.
I don't know. It would just be cool if he did it whenever we're on or I'm on.
It'd be interesting.
Oh, it could be anyone. Anyone is more than free to come on. Hell, more the merrier.
Yeah.
Oh, we had Jamarl on like twice last week. No.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jamarl was on, and that was really awesome.
That was pretty cool.
That's my favorite. That was probably my two of my favorite ones thus far.
I also emailed and YouTubed and Facebooked Debbie of Sane Progressive.
Okay.
But I haven't gotten a response out of her yet.
She would be a lot of fun to have on. I like her a lot.
Snork, how's it going?
Hey, Zork. In regards to the technology that we're using, I went out and got a deal on a $27.99 camera with a speaker on it, and I think you guys can hear me pretty well.
Yeah.
Okay. So when people come on and I do this, you guys know what that means, right?
Yeah, the sound is low.
And we're all like, what? So, and it really sucks for them because when we chime in, they get drowned out quickly. and they might have some important and interesting things to talk about, of course. But it's just they've got to keep up with the tech, man. You know what I'm saying?
Mm.
I don't know how to fix that. If they do come on and they've got bad volume, they need to try to fix it. Or, I mean, we'll do what we can, of course, to try to help these people out. Like we can do this. We can all do this right here as much as possible.
I have my headphones on.
Hey, wait a minute. That's just what I usually do.
Well, I can hear everybody good.
No, everyone seems to be coming in well.
Is there a topic? Are we to have topics tonight, or are we just going to just jump in on politics, or what's going on there?
I just thought we were just going to start shitposting like usual.
We were really waiting on Stevie because she went to the Bernie Sanders rally that he did in West Virginia just a day or two ago. And I really want to hear what happened.
Yeah.
So as soon as she gets on, she's going to lay down the 411 on us.
Nice.
About that.
What was the name again? I'm sorry. What was the name? The person?
Oh, Stevie up in West Virginia.
Stevie was out there.
Stevie was out there, yeah.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah.
So have you guys heard what's going on with Trump writing the DNC fraud wave?
No, a little bit.
Yeah,
I think that's great.
Well, you guys got to understand. He's got like 500 plus businesses. The guy's he's a sales and marketing guru. He sucks at running a country, and he's an idiot when it comes to the Constitution and.
But he's good at marketing.
Diplomacy and all that. But the thing is when he sees a moment of advertisement or marketing,
yep,
he will jump on that wave and he will write it.
Yeah.
So like he can't resist.
Yeah, but the great thing about
like a fucking idiot Savin.
Exactly. Yeah, fucking exactly.
A what?
He's an idiot Savin. Like he's a complete imbecile at nearly everything he does, but he's like good at this one thing.
He's Rain Man.
Yeah, he's Rain Man if Rain Man only could sell product.
Yeah.
Definitely crooked Hillary.
And bad steaks.
Definitely crooked Hillary. Definitely crooked Hillary.
Yeah. No, I mean he's one of those people he's so.
I'm a Rain Man myself.
He's despicable, but he's really predictable. And if people
seriously,
they can. The trouble is he can be manipulated really easily, one way or the other, if you know how to push those buttons, because they're pretty essential. They're not really that complicated. Yeah. I wish somebody would tell him he'd be a national hero if he made health care available to everyone. I wish someone would do that, because his ego would go, really? I want to be a national hero.
Exactly. That's a good point.
I wish somebody would say that to him. He'd also love you.
We're pardoning Julian Assange. He should do it.
Yeah. No, you know what? If he did, he'd break the Democratic Party's back. Yeah, like that one move would break.
Yeah, that would be great.
No, it would be like Butters on South Park. When he was golfing, and he sunk the ship.
Yeah.
With just one golf ball, he can do it.
Yeah,
do it, Trump.
And that was Butters, and Butters.
Be the Butters we need.
And Butters was
Well, actually, it'd be kind of like that one time. No, you know what it actually would be like? It'd be that one time he and Cartman decided to hold up a Chinese restaurant.
Oh boy!
And Butters that just ends up shooting everybody in the dick.
Oh
boy! Finally, the Republicans are like, "No, this is done. You're done. We're going home. We're going home, Trump. We're going home. We're gonna just sit down and think about this. You're gonna think long and hard about what you did."
All right, so just that tweet got a little attention, which I thought was very interesting, and out of nowhere, CNN and their less popular hosts, I call them, or spewers or propagandists, they go on and they do this, and they actually, oh crap.
Oh, they're scared now.
Yeah, and they actually go on there, but they talk
scared.
about it. But listen, they talk about it, but they leave this up the whole time. Obama made a mistake with Russia.
Wait, what's the mistake though?
I know it's just a distraction.
No, seriously, like what was the mistake? That he didn't pursue the Russia thing more aggressively when he was?
Yes.
Like
ridiculous.
So that's the fault.
Boo hoo.
I know.
Like, oh God, he actually has to be the president and has to stave off nuclear wars. Like, God, that's like what fun. It reminds me of that joke from the H Bomber Guy video. Will you kill millions, Jeremy? Will you kill millions, Jeremy? I'd love to support you, but as a right-wing voter, I have this insatiable thirst for blood that can only be satiated with the most powerful weapon ever conceived by mankind.
Good voice.
That's triggered.
You could put that on an audition reel and start trying to get some voiceover work for cartoons.
Yeah.
Or we should make our own show, create our own content.
Oh no.
No.
But hey, so here's the good thing about that is that now it touched the mainstream. DNC lawsuit finally touched the mainstream. And sadly, because of the pathetic trolling of Trump.
Mm.
But it's out there, so it's starting the conversation. They're going to try to squish it, you know they will.
Of course.
But I'm telling you right now, if I don't know why
I can't believe I'm saying I'm actually saying this, but thank you, Donald Trump.
I know.
I can't believe I'm having to say.
I know. I can't believe I heard you say it.
I feel so.
I can't believe I'm agreeing.
Yeah.
I feel so disgusted in like that one, like in that way that you. Like, you know that you agree with him. It's like, fuck, I actually have to say I agree with him.
I had no problem. I had no problem agreeing with him on that.
Yeah. I mean, it's one of those things, though. It's like, he's completely abhorrent. I think he's a complete disgrace. I don't think he should be there at all.
No.
But when he does something that's right, it's
relevant.
like, oh, all right. It's like, I'll still be like, sure. All right, good. It's one of those things.
But
I think we're going to all have to take a shower.
it shouldn't have to. Like, yeah.
Rub ourselves with Brillo
like,
pads.
Here's the thing. Like, it shouldn't have had to take Donald Trump to saying this. Like, seriously, this should not have.
But that shows the state of our politics and our media that it did. That shows how bad things have gotten.
Like,
it took Trump having to speak out till it finally made the damn news. I mean, that's how bad.
Like, that is like having to have a KKK Grand Wizard tell the country, hey, we need to talk about race relations.
Yeah, I know. I'm trying.
Yeah.
It's
yeah.
Why?
But I don't think MSNBC is going to touch this.
No, they're not going to because they still haven't figured out what part of the Russia angle, because they only have like one person on that entire network who has been somewhat consistent about the whole Russia thing, and everybody else is just sort of jumping on the bandwagon because they're either completely craven or because they see it as a cheap means of achieving their political motives.
No, it really comes down to one thing, and that is they're protecting their paychecks. That's all it is.
Or yeah.
All it is.
Well, yeah. Like I'm saying it like this, like like to Lawrence O'Donnell Reddit, huh? Hello.
There's someone that
I just called in, just saying hi.
Oh, hi there.
Hi.
Hello, Colin user 2.
Yeah, it's me, Kevin, in the chat.
Hey, Kevin.
Here, I'll say hi. I'll prove it.
How are you doing?
Aloha, welcome.
Hi.
Hello. How's it going?
Welcome to the After Hours program.
No, I normally listen to you guys.
So what we usually ask is when you come in, introduce yourself. You don't have to give us your bio like this one guy did.
Hey.
Like, not you. It was, he goes, well, when I used to do a lot of drugs and steal stuff. I'm like, oh, TMI, bro. I mean, where are you from? You don't have to say the exact city, street, and physical address. But, you know, the city is okay. And state,
Well, this is awesome.
you know,
Unless you want to get
what
weird
you're
stuff.
about. Your political affiliation isn't really.
Don't we need longitude and latitude?
I can barely tell who's talking.
Go ahead.
That's the usual.
Caller user 2.
My name's Kevin. I'm from Northern Michigan.
Hey, Kevin, welcome, bro.
Hello.
And you're going to get a chip after tonight for the AA meeting you're about to go through.
Oh, the AA meeting. No, I
Americans Anonymous.
You're 1 day of soberness. Unless you're.
I've been sober for a long time.
Admitting you're powerless to listen to Tim Black is the first step. You cannot control your need to tune in.
My apologies to all the alcoholics that may or may not be viewing.
Hey, I've been through Al-Anon. I've gone through all that stuff. Yeah.
All right. So, what do you want to talk about, Kevin?
I was just I'm not really great at starting off a topic. I always try to jump in the chat here with you guys with the topic, and I always, because of the lag between the video and the chat thing, it normally gets skipped over a little bit.
Sure.
I don't know. I'm not really a person that's great at starting a topic. I'm good at advancing it once it is started, though.
No worries.
You kind of sound like a hard bastard.
I mean, what specific topics do you like that actually piques your interest, so we could actually start a interesting one?
We were talking about one. We were talking about. I thought it was kind of interesting that Trump always rides the marketing wave of whatever's popular, and then he fits in like little talking points and narratives with his stupid trolling tweets.
What we were talking about.
I
mean, we've all known he's been a con man for like, what, 30, 40 years now?
Oh, yeah. But he just...
I mean, this is common knowledge.
Yeah.
We were talking about, he just tweeted out the DNC fraud lawsuit, and then finally picked up on it.
Hey, at least he did something that actually helps us.
Yeah, that is true.
Yeah. It's like the TV all over again.
But every time I get a great laugh when, like, every time when I see him do "you are fake news" or calling out fake news, I just laugh hard. Those are like my favorite things about Donald Trump, because it's like something I actually 100% agree with Donald Trump. Fake news.
Yeah.
Yeah. Except the problem is he thinks the real news is Breitbart and Alex Jones.
That's
not even that. You know for a fact he's got like Fox News and other stuff going. I mean, if you look at his tweets and the timing of them, and then when Fox and other things release stuff, he literally repeats what they're saying.
Yeah.
No, he should start listening to independent media and just blow off all the corporate media, and that will be like the biggest.
I don't ever think we're going to get that lucky.
I mean, independent sources really, truly need to reach out to Donald Trump, because he could just blow off all the corporate media and go on independent media and start, really talking. And plus, but
the second.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, but the second, let's say we brought him on Tim Black, we brought him on Ebon Kim or something like that, or some call-in or something minor, even if it was minor. The second we start picking at what the hell he's been doing, like, oh, you want to make us pay for some giant wall? Oh, did you hear the idea about the wall he put out now? Evidently he wants to put solar panels on top of it.
Right. Yeah, I heard that. What?
Okay, that's a great idea. Sure.
Well, I mean, when you think about the actual size and the location, I mean, how long is the border between Mexico and Texas? I mean, that would be a lot of solar panels. That actually might make a decent dent.
Yeah, I'd have to agree. I think it's one of the smartest things he's probably ever said. And he probably said it.
That's so funny.
One major downside to that whole thing is that you're building a 20 to 30. Well, I don't know. It's the estimates on the wall, and at one point it's going to be 5 foot, one point it's going to be 10 foot, it's going to be 30 feet, and then next thing he says, oh, they can just get a rope. It's.
I actually see this.
It's just ridiculous.
Me, the only thing I could actually agree with him upon is like these solar panels, not the actual wall, but the solar panels. Because here's one thing. He has the acknowledgement of solar panels, and that's a really good thing, and he should just go with that.
That's a step in the right direction.
Yeah.
At least he said something about anything but coal and oil.
Okay, so the wall is going to be 1,600 kilometers long.
Oh,
sorry,
God.
I said kilometers.
We use miles here.
Dimensions as well.
And it's supposed to be 35 feet tall.
Okay.
That's a lot of solar panels.
Oh.
But that's not. I just think that. Just to even say that, and then people voted. It just drives me nuts. It's
that damn red herring, all that crap. It's like listening to a dumb young kid being like, I want this, and then I want a dump truck, and then I want a thing. It's just, it's just like a little child. It really is. A lot of times listening to him is just like this little spoiled, rich, and then I'm gonna build a spaceship and go to the moon. It's like, yeah, sure you are.
Well, the mining on the moon thing might not be as far-fetched as it sounds, because they want to construct basically for re-entry, bringing the resources back here. Basically, the resources are going to be the very heat shield that they want to use to send the whole thing back down. So that that's not as crazy as you think. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's ambitious and kind of nuts, but it's within the realm of possibility.
Yeah.
But you're still not building that rocket in your backyard.
It's more, though, that...
Could you repeat that? I didn't catch that.
I said, but you're still not building...
I heard something rocket.
Yeah, you're still not building that rocket in your backyard. Did you get that?
Why would we be building a rocket in the backyard?
If you're the little kid saying you're going to the moon.
Yeah.
Oh, well, yeah, but he's the fucking president. We've got NASA. They've literally done it. I mean, there's the ability to do it is not in question.
Sure.
Yeah.
Do you think Donald Trump will colonize Mars?
Oh, God, that's a half-baked, crazy idea. Yeah, first, I want you to fix the magnetic field around Mars, and then we'll talk about the other stuff.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's insanity for us to even think about it.
Yeah.
All of these sort of things, to me, they always just pale in comparison to the fact that our ecosystems are just hurtling towards extinction and disaster. Those are the things, those are the little things, the little big things that are going to come up and just be like, smack you. I'm going to go Mars. No, you're not. You can't even drink the water. It's like,
exactly.
Boom. There goes your idea right there.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I completely agree with you with the environment thing, because, think about it. Every single resource we have that we depend on for life is completely dependent on our environment.
Yeah. The biggest
when you fuck with that, you fuck with the whole thing, and you're dooming yourself.
Absolutely. And the biggest challenge, of course, that we're coming up with is, people have all these ideas that are that they think are going to happen. But the fact of the matter is the resources aren't there. The resources will not be there. We have exhausted a huge amount of the Earth's resources already into creating the construct that we currently live in. And so all the people that think we're going to build, all these amazing things, they don't understand that a lot of the technology that requires takes rare earths, and it takes all these finite, limited resources that we've already and we're currently using in things like cell phones. Everybody's got the damn cell phone, and those things are not going to get recycled. So it's wishful.
Yeah, that's a huge problem. Electronics not getting recycled. I mean, you think of the millions upon millions to billions of dollars in rare materials that get thrown away into a landfill.
It's a wishful thinking.
Or get sent off to some third or fourth world country where they burn it all, and then they pick out all the shiny shit. It's like I don't know if you've ever seen Futurama before, but it's basically, I don't know, that one episode where they come to dump all their trash off, and there's kids digging through it, and they just light it on fire and tell the kids to pick out the shiny stuff.
Right.
I mean, that's basically what it is. I mean, that's kind of an exaggeration, but I mean, effectively.
We'll also be digging through it for plastic, because plastic is petroleum based, and once we've exhausted all the petroleum, we will no longer be able to make new plastic. We will have to recycle what we.
No, that's not true at all. That's not true at all. I mean, what's petroleum? Do you know it's a hydrocarbon? How do you make a hydrocarbon? Hydrocarbons are made from plants. I mean, we can make plastic from plants, so that's not a big deal.
Plastic from plants, but not in the same way that we've done it.
We're not in precisely the same way, not with the same equipment. But yeah,
more with less. Not doing more with more, because more is already gone. It's about doing more with less.
Yeah.
Well, hell, if we could just freaking do recycling, that would make a hell of a difference.
Yeah, well, most
you know what I mean? I mean, look at the recycling position in the United States. I mean, I've worked at landfills. Those damn things are a fucking shit heap. I mean, it's horrible. I mean, go to Oklahoma City. If you go to one of those landfills, you can literally see the other 4 landfills surrounding the city, and you know they're a landfill because you see this giant flock of birds circling above it.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
seagulls everywhere.
It's like that's one of the worst places I've ever seen for landfills and just shit spilled out everywhere and crap. I mean, Oklahoma, it's basically like it's where every corporation likes to dump their hazardous waste, basically.
Yeah.
That.
Yeah.
It's true. I live here.
I mean, plastic is already in our food chain. We're already consuming plastic
right now. I guarantee you that.
I
guarantee you got plastic in you right now. I guarantee you have polystyrene in you right now too.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's very true.
No, they were saying that rice in China, they were shipping out. They had, they were using a filler.
China's been shipping our
plastic.
Sorry.
No, there was China. There was an article about it somewhere that China was using some form of, I think, polystyrene to wrap around rice to fill it plastic or something in some way. I don't remember the details, but they were doing something like that.
Yeah.
Well, they were making rice.
China literally does. They ship us our radiated stuff. I mean, they literally do that.
Go ahead. Did Jork go ahead, Jork? You got something to go?
Yeah, they were just blow molding rice pellets. They didn't even puff up when they cooked them. It was real obvious.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Wait. They just made like
they also
rice styrofoam.
They're also taking walnut shells, selling the walnut meat, and then filling them with little pieces of concrete and a tissue to keep it from rattling.
What?
Take eggs. People in China now will not eat eggs from restaurants unless they see it broken in front of them, because they were making eggs out of oil and yellow wax.
Jeez.
Yeah.
And marine algae, blue-green algae, produces an oil identical to petroleum. We have a endless supply. There's no reason for us to be drilling at all, even right now.
Yep.
I mean, hundreds of miles of ocean could be our entire oil crop that we can grow. You know what I mean? You could grow this shit out in salt water, if you really wanted to.
Then you've got to deal with the fallback, because the more, I mean, what are you doing with that stuff? You're going to burn it? put it in
Which
the air.
would you rather do? Would you rather frack the ground that you're living on, pump from the ground you're living on, refine everything on the ground you're living on, or would you rather section off one chunk of ocean and then just grow all your shit there and never have to fuck with anything else again?
Yeah, but we're not going to do that.
No.
I mean,
That's
just
not
kind
gonna
of
make
cost.
anybody
I mean,
rich
which
enough.
one's worse?
Neither one is preferable, but yeah. But
Yeah.
we're not going to.
I really rather have the algae thing over how we're getting oil now. I mean,
Yeah.
at
Well,
least the
sure.
algae thing would be a carbon neutral.
Yeah, of course, but nobody's going to get rich on that right now.
Right.
Who's going to go
Therein lies the problem.
well,
That
go
raises
kill those people because that's about the only way you'll wrest it from their hands.
which
I figure within the next 10, 20 years or so, we're going to get hit with big enough storms to the point where the country, or, the government of the country finally realizes, oh shit, we got a problem. We might want to do something about this.
That's very true.
When like the whole lower half of the country is flooded, I imagine they're going to start rethinking things when they got a couple 100 million people that are pissed.
Well, that's already happening. I mean, that's,
they're somewhat comfortable and they're pissed. You flood them out of their house for a couple 100 miles all through that area, and I guarantee it's going to be a lot worse.
I don't think that people fleeing Syria in places like that are very comfortable. I mean, and a lot of that, people don't want to talk about that. You won't hear it in the news, but a huge reason that those regions are destabilized is because of no food, no water. You basically have areas where people shouldn't even be, and they've overpopulated. And now guess what? Oh, no water, nowhere to eat. No, so we got to go somewhere else. That's a big part of what they're fighting over. The wars of the future will be about food and water. They're not going to be about, farmable land. I mean,
and they really don't need to be about food and water, because literally, I mean, we have the technology, resources, and ability to purify all the damn water, or to filter it out the ocean, and we've got way more than enough room.
It's a little different.
No reason we're doing this. It's just idiocy for money. I mean, that's the only reason.
America, sure, but in a third world country, it's a little different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're a lot different. Yeah.
I'm talking from America point of view. I'm not like, I'm American, obviously.
Yeah, me as well. But the fact is that the fights over resources are right now happening on the lower level. We're next. We're coming. We're at the apex of the whole system. So we'll be the last to really feel the burn. They're the ones feeling it now, but it's canary in the coal mine. The poorest start, and it's going to work its way up. Eventually, we will be. It'll be maybe on a different level, but we will definitely. They were already feeling the impact. There's no doubt. It's just subtle. It's subtle.
Here's the thing. If we don't, and I always say this, and I'm telling you, if we don't put the proper people in office, and I know this sounds corny, the current leaders and supposed our public servants, they're killing us. These people that just don't give a shit.
Oh yeah, they're psychopaths.
Yeah.
James.
I agree. Profile for the person that goes to political power, they want money, they want control over other people. That's the type of person that normally orients towards that. I mean, what I want to do is I want to get rid of all the fucking profit motive for being a politician, period. I'd rather be every fucking politician is fucking poor as shit, because at least then they'd be, they would understand the problems. You know what I mean? Like, every politician should have the bare minimum wage. That's what they should have, and they should have the same thing as the lowest worker.
They should be like DMV workers.
Yeah, politicians should certainly not be allowed to get healthy benefits.
DMV. You got a DMV. We got the Secretary of State. That's. Hey, I've had so many hats there. It's irritating as all hell.
You think you've got it bad with your Secretary of State right now? Imagine how I feel with my Secretary of Education.
Oh no, they put out false voting information. They literally put out false pamphlets with the wrong dates on them.
Not a bit surprising.
Yeah.
That's how. I mean, it's nuts. It's nuts.
So what happens over here in California with me and Bram is I go to vote, and I've done it for years, and there's never a line, and I get right through.
Right.
And just, it's like, and I go whenever I need to, and it's just so, and the rest of the country, oh my God, it's just so, it's just made,
Yeah.
It's so wrong.
Right.
The whole system's so fucked up.
Well, I would say that's true. When I lived in Oregon versus living here in Atlanta, oh, forget it. To go get a driver's license or an ID renewed or anything like that, getting your passport done, in Oregon, it was fabulous. I mean, it was quiet, no lines, very easy, simple process. It's like a madhouse. It's like freaking crazy. It's like they're waiting for a rock concert or something. I mean, it's insane. And nobody knows what they're doing. So half the time you wait through that line, then you get there and they can't even help you. They're like, I don't know what to tell you. And it's just rigmarole.
Yeah, here it's not. It really isn't that bad. The lines aren't that long. It's mainly because the state here puts enough money into the resources needed to have polling places open all over the place. So it's not difficult to get to a polling place and stand in line for a little while and finally vote. It just, we understand that that's something people want to do, and it's it gets funded because of it. Now in states like Georgia, Alabama, they don't care as much because the whole point there is that the less people vote, the more Republicans will get voted in. I mean, it's just they understand that that's the way that works. You make it harder for people to vote, less people will, and you'll end up with crappier choices and crappier politicians.
Exactly.
The gerrymandering. Gerrymandering is terrible.
That's part of it too.
Yeah.
So they're raising the DMV prices here, so that's just another way of weeding out the poor people because if you can't get your identification and stuff, it's just they have no standard to the depth that they'll sink to.
Yeah,
it's a poll tax. That's what it comes down to. It's a poll tax.
I mean, I went and when the last time I got my license, it was like $25. And if it's gone up, I can't get a job because I can't afford to get my license.
Right.
That's just crazy.
Yeah.
Well, the fact that the state wants you to have a license and it's for the state's benefit and they charge you for it is just crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow. Yes.
I mean, because do you need that piece of plastic to drive? No. Of
course not.
I mean, it's not a necessity. I mean, there used to be people that got beat to death because they refused to take a license or an ID.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, my parents used to they had a couple friends from Maryland, and they were tax objectors. They didn't have social security numbers. Their children didn't have social security numbers. None of them paid state, federal, any kind of tax.
Wow.
They nearly went to jail several times. They were in and out of court, and they finally were granted. It was a conscientious objection. They said, this is not a legal tax. We do not agree with what you're spending our taxes on. That was their premise. And they won. It took a lot of time, but they got there. And so none of their children pay into the system at all. They mostly farm. They live on huge, out in the country, and they kind of live off the land, off the grid. And they do landscaping and jobs where they're often paid just in cash because none of them have checking accounts, credit cards, none of that. It's wild.
Yeah, and then okay, exactly. Ariel, I believe your name is, correct?
Yes.
Okay. What you're saying there, that's kind of what I completely get what you're saying, but there are people trying to attack that. I mean, look at what they're doing in California. They want to.
Oh, absolutely. Like I said, they nearly went to jail several times. It wasn't simple.
They want to eliminate physical money. So basically, who's that? I mean, basically that targets the people specifically, like you mentioned.
Right. Oh, sure. And of course, there's an alternate, part of that, which a lot of people would say, well, what's so special about you? Why do you get to, opt out? We don't all have the luxury, or some of us don't want to take the risk of going to prison, because a lot of people do. They got lucky. A lot of people would get, put away or heavily fined or whatever, for doing that.
Well, see, that's
the
thing,
biggest thing I'm going to say about the government in general is, sorry.
Your family fought for it. That's the difference. You actually, they fought to get there. That's something that not a lot of people would be willing to do.
No, but yeah, I mean, it's funny. They're both dead now, the two people that originally did all that, but all their kids are alive, and they're, none of them are in the system. None of them are on paper. They don't have social security numbers. Wild thought. No number.
Hey, Steve,
well, I mean, they make so if you don't have that number, oh, you want to get a normal job somewhere? Nope, don't have a social security number.
Well, they don't. That's exactly it. That none of them do that. They all have jobs that are.
You have to work everything under the table, and for some people that's great and it works out for them. But for there's a lot of other people in that situation that it does not work out for.
I agree. There's a lot of.
I've worked under the table for a couple of years doing roofing and all that, and it's just under the table pay versus on the table pay. I mean, 90% of the time you can get paid more under the table just avoiding taxes. I mean, you might end up getting, like, let's say if you pay taxes and you get paid over the table, you get paid what, 20, 25 bucks an hour or something for doing roofing.
Right.
And for under the table, you get paid, depending on what you're doing, anywhere from 13 to 18.
Yeah.
So you get paid less, but then you're kind of making more money because
you're not getting taxed on it. You're not paying any of it to the government, and no interest on credit cards because you don't have credit cards. Therefore, you don't have debt. It's an interesting thought. Sure.
You want to know something insane? My mother got a credit card like a couple of years ago, and then paid it off, and then ever since then, there's been like literally piles of them sent to her in the mail.
Sure.
Like
they all
20% interest rate, 30% interest rate, just insane shit. And then you realize, like, think about how all this, where is this debt money coming from? Okay, this debt money, basically you have the Federal Reserve, and then you have those 12 private banks that are, that have accounts at the Federal Reserve.
Yeah.
And then they borrow the money at that incredibly low interest rate, and then they loan it out to schmucks, like payday loan lenders, like auto lenders, like all these people. And it's a big money laundering scheme because what they're doing is they're sticking debt on everybody else while they make off with all the, because the interest rate right now that the Fed has is incredibly low. Well, their interest rates on their cards and stuff like that they try to pawn off on people are like anywhere from 5 to 30%. Well, that's how they're stealing money.
Here's the interesting thing. If you're smart, there's a way around that.
Yeah, don't go to debt.
Here's what you do. You get yourself one of those zero interest for a time period cards. And what you do is you pay it off before that time period ends.
Yep.
And you set up another one.
Yep.
And you can continue to do that if your credit's good enough. If your credit's good enough, you can continually do that, and you won't pay any interest.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, but they always try to dick you with a fine or a fee or something.
Yeah, I mean, I pay off on my credit cards every month, so I don't have interest. I mean,
it's not just credit cards. I mean, you got to think of all things that create debt, from payday loan lenders to loans at a bank,
just sharp,
to the car loan, to the credit card, to all of it. It's all. I mean, these things are all coming from the same group of people.
Sure.
I mean,
I don't have a credit card.
They feed it down through subsidiaries and smaller corporations and other people, and that's what gives the illusion that these small companies that are doing it, but it's not.
No. Yeah. And it's levels, right? I mean, those payday loans and those kind of places, they're really bottom feeders. They're sure part of the whole problem, but they're just
it's a bigger bottom feeder thing than that, because normally next to those payday lender places, there's a labor ready or some star staffing thing directly next to them.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And then the closest bank is like 4 miles away. You know, they basically try to screw you into cashing your check there.
Yep.
It's all planned. All that kind of thing is absolutely planned.
And you also look at the star staffing places. I mean, oh yeah, you got a job, but they're ripping off. How much money are they stealing from you every time? I mean, basically, let's say Walmart gets a contract or something like that to hire out people from one of those staffing places. Well, they pay the staffing person as low as they possibly can, but the people that you know, that the middleman that helps to do the job is basically getting paid double.
Yep.
You know, so it's right. Well, what are the purpose of these people that are lining people up with jobs when they're stealing more money than they're putting into the people's pockets that need the jobs in the first place?
Now see that if our politicians actually worked for us, they would make those kinds of things illegal, because what they're essentially doing is they're creating a necessity that has no business even being there. They're creating a job that essentially
scenario that created the problem.
Right. Yep. Stevie, now that you're in, have you got anything to report from the burning round?
Yeah.
It was the weirdest thing. Like, okay, so I guess.
So where did you go? Where did you go?
It was the Bernie Sanders Save Our Healthcare rally. I think that's what it was called.
Okay.
It was so like my sister took me, and we park in the parking garage that's close to it, and I'm walking past all these cars, and it was like I'm getting a bad feeling about this, because I see all these cars with NPR bumper stickers and "She persisted" and all this, and I'm like, oh, this isn't good. I walk in, and it's just like this corporate, like Hillary Clinton. I mean, it was. I think it was through MoveOn.org that hosted it or was paying for it, and the guest speakers that came on before Bernie were thanking Joe Manchin for saving or for saying that he's going to vote no on Trump Care, and like they weren't telling the whole story. It's like, yeah, I mean, of course he's going to vote against it. He makes too much money off of the pharmaceutical industry and from the medical industry. So I mean, that's money out of his pocket if people can't, you know, go to the doctor. Yeah, and Barney's part was pretty good. I mean, like it was so different because I went to his rally up in Huntington, and like the energy there was so authentic, and you know, he got to.
We've got some feedback. I don't know where it's coming from, but I'm hearing it. Are you guys hearing it?
Oh.
No, I'm not hearing it.
Not now.
No,
but
I don't hear anything.
I could hear.
I'm good.
If everybody who's not talking can mute, that would be really helpful.
Oh, okay. Eric, can you mute Kevin? I think that there might be a little bit of bounce back.
Just give me a second. I'll mute when I'm not talking.
Yeah.
Okay.
You can mute yourself too if you need to.
Kevin's really new at this YouTube thing.
It's okay.
Yeah. It was just.
Doing the YouTube thing?
Huh?
Oh, I'm feedbacking. Okay, sorry, I'll fix that.
Yeah. Okay. It wasn't just me. They're saying that they hear it.
Yeah, it was totally different. Like up there, you know, he got to, you know, the crowd was like electric, you know, but then there was just so many people, like, you know, there was people in Hillary Clinton t-shirts, and like it was so weird because, you know, West Virginia voted Trump, and it's just, you know, Trump country, and then you walk into like this little bubble. I mean that, I think that perfectly sums up, you know, basically the DNC and Hillary camp and all that. I mean, they live in their own bubble, and it was this own little bubble where Joe Manchin is this wonderful guy that is doing the right thing for the right reasons, and you know, it was just basically them groveling. They were begging Shelley Moore Capito to vote no on this, begging her, please don't take our health care away. And I just can't stand groveling. I can't stand begging. I'm of the mindset of you tell her, look, you're going to do the right thing or you're going to be out.
Yeah.
You don't ask for it. You tell her how it is. This is how it is. It was the whole thing was like, please, like, can we just have some more porridge? You know, just a little bit of healthcare, please. You know, like, no, you're going to give us single payer. He did bring up single payer. So, you know, I'm glad he did that, and everybody loved it. It was, I would say a lot of the people there were older, but, you know, that's to be expected because, you know, we don't have young people here. So I don't know. It was really disappointing. I mean, Bernie was good, but the rest of it was garbage.
Wow. So Stevie, my big question, of course, but I think I already kind of figured it out looking at the picture, is that it seems to me that they're trying to, it's like he's trying to fight for Obamacare to continue rather than really pushing for single payer.
Yeah. That's the people that came on before him were really pushing like Obamacare and, you know, and just Joe Manchin. Like, I don't know why they just felt the need to like repeatedly thank him.
Yeah.
It was just gross. I don't know. I know that I have a special, you know, place in my heart, you know, for the hatred of Joe Manchin. But I mean, this guy, seriously, he's not out for anybody else but himself and his pockets. And that's what this healthcare is. It's not about us. It's about him getting rich or losing money.
Mm-hmm. I agree. I also don't like that thought of people having to begging for what they need. It should be a demand. It should be, you do right by us. It should be the people in control. You know, they're there to serve you, not the other way around. And that's the whole problem with the country in the first darn place.
Yeah, it's like people being scared, like scaring them and living in like this fear. And it's just like, no, don't be afraid. Get pissed. Get pissed. You know, you deserve health care. I mean, you're a human being. You want to go and that guy that I talked to that shared his story with me is like, you know, he goes and he works now. He's a productive member of society. He made sure to put that in there because he didn't want people thinking like he's getting health care and he's just being a bum, you know, just being alive for no reason. So, I mean, like, you know, this is, you want good, healthy workers, maybe give them some insurance. I don't know. It's crazy.
Yeah.
See, they need to be afraid of us, not vice versa. Exactly. They need to fear us.
Yeah.
That's what.
Well, if we had a 40 or 50 million people voting block, I'm pretty sure they'd be pretty damn scared.
They're not, though. That's the trouble, even if we had that, because they've, at this point in time, that's not to say it'll stay that way forever, but at this point in time, the corporations run the show. They're the ones that pick who we get to pick from. We don't get a genuine people's choice candidate because we don't get the people's choice. We get the corporation's choice. And then we get to pick from the corporation's pick.
With 40 or 50 million person voting block, you got to think you got a lot more power than voting. You have economic weight you can throw around. I mean, you can literally crash some of these corporations just by stop buying from them.
Sure,
you know?
but that takes a lot. That takes a lot of solidarity.
They're so used to people being asleep here, and they still think that they can get by with this stuff. And not only was the auditorium there, you know, full, but today there was a protest at Shelley Moore Capito's office, and they got arrested. The cops went and took them away. So people are waking up. There's marches, you know, that are happening. People are calling them up. I mean, it's slowly happening. I mean, because most of the people here, you know, it's hard to get the message out when people don't have internet and people are, you know, don't have the time or the energy to focus on this stuff. But it's getting to the point where we can't ignore it anymore. It's becoming everybody's problem, and they're waking up, and these people aren't going to last. They're going to have to hack the vote. I mean, it's nothing like they haven't done before. They've manipulated votes, done, you know, election fraud before here. So, you know, I don't. That's probably what they'll have to do to stay in office.
You know, screwing over your registry, to changing your party affiliation, to just flushing your registry down the toilet, to what is it, where they do the decimal trade swap thing on the voting. So basically, your vote counts for less than somebody else's vote. And then, I mean, they've got like, what, 15 different layers of fraud they can use?
That's what I mean. That's why we're in a pickle. We're a really large pickle. Those things have to shift. Nothing's going to shift until a lot of these things like fraud and corporate elitism and big money in politics get addressed and cleansed.
Yeah.
Well, my biggest thing about this whole thing is, okay, you have to have a government by consent. It's literally what the Constitution says. All right. Okay. What part of, like 48% of the whole population votes is a consent? When you have half the country that refuses to vote, I mean, that's a lot of no consent given.
Yeah.
It also, to me, I mean, it's like the Constitution is certainly far from perfect, and in a lot of ways, it's certainly far from reflecting.
Perfect is humanity.
Yeah, I mean, and I mean, it's in a way far from reflecting the current state of things. I mean, hell, the Constitution said that slavery was just fine. Everyone's equal.
Well, yeah, 13th Amendment. If you look at that thing, look what the whole prison industrial complex enslaving people.
That's also it's in the Constitution that prison labor does not have to be paid, does not have to be compensated. It's in there.
Yeah. That's another thing that they're doing here. Joe Manchin wants the new war on drugs because the last one worked out so well.
Right.
We did drugs with that one. Idiot. Oh yeah, he's feeling the pressure because not only that, he's scared. He's scared so much because he's doing that. He had that little paper or whatever that he signed that he's not going to run against the sitting member, of Congress or whatever. He's doing everything. He's just like, oh, primary me, and then we do, and he's like, oh wait, I didn't mean it. Take back.
I love you guys.
Hey everybody. Just letting you know, I need to get going. I got to be up early for work in the morning.
Oh, okay, bro.
Okay. It was good to see you, bro. You take care. Okay. You have yourself a good one. You take care.
All right. So in regards to the little show that you went to, Stevie, from what I can tell and from what your comments are, it's more staging for pundits. It's more staging and marketing for bringing out Perez's and Ellison's and these backstabbing Dumbocrats, that these corporatist Dumbocrats. It's just staging, putting them in the light and giving them airtime, and it's got to stop. But how many people were at this event?
I would say there were probably I counted the rows. There was like 20. I don't know. I'd say probably around 300, maybe.
Pretty decent.
Yeah, it was, but that's what they were doing. They were using Bernie. They know that we love Bernie, and that we showed up for him. We didn't show up to hear all this other garbage that they're talking. We showed up for Bernie. Nobody else that went up there and talked got the. I mean, everybody was screaming this is a bunch of old people too. This is probably the most excited they've been in 10 years. Like, Bernie comes on stage and he's like, single payer, and everybody's just like, yeah. It was so great. But, and he talked about the opiate epidemic. He talked about, the money that, and he said, the Affordable Care Act just doesn't go far enough. And he, made points about how, we need single payer if we want to, treat the opiate epidemic, and actually went into it. And my sister, who isn't, very political, just basically, what I try to tell her when I see her, even she was like, wait, I want more information. She's like, I want more information. I have questions about this, she walked away wanting to know more. So, I mean, that's great for somebody that I've tried to talk to her before, in the beginning, and she's like, oh, I don't care about that stuff. Now she wants to know more.
Yeah.
So that's great.
It just makes me emotional. It makes me really sad thinking about how much people wanted him and how screwed up everything is. It's just, it's ridiculous.
Did that just hit you? That just hit her. What she's feeling, I felt the day, I think it was July the 15th or 16th, or one of those days in 2000, it was July 15th, 2016, when Bernie conceded to to Hillary. I was in tears.
Yeah.
And I'm a big, tough guy.
Mm-hmm.
But I still cry at like movies like Moana. I will cry at that movie. But I was just, because I went out and I pounded the doors and I passed out his pamphlets and I was getting chased, like I told you guys, off of driveways by crazy old Republicans.
Yeah.
And just everybody in the free world. But the thing is
also Hillary. Forget that.
Yeah, and some of the Hillary people were coming after me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it is, too, it's also because I have this, it's just this pain in my being because I know that who knows how long it's going to take. I have that awareness that there are so many people out there that need to be able to go to the doctor, need to be able to have their medication, need to be able to take care of things, and they can't. And it's not because they're lazy. It's not because they're anything. Their system, their government is failing them, not the other way around. I think most people in this country are actually really industrious and very hardworking, and their government is failing them. And it just hurts because it's like, I feel like, yes, Bernie should have been president, and maybe that wouldn't fix everything, but it would help some things, and it would have changed them in at least a better direction. And I just don't know how long it's going to take before either. We're not going to get an enlightened government without a lot of blood, sweat, and tears, and maybe wars and fighting. Who knows what that would take. But it's really up to the people to come together and really rise up as a huge unit. And I mean a huge unit to where they can't just mow us all down. I don't know what the answer truly is. I mean, I guess it's why we're all here. It's that gnawing thing, right? We're all trying to figure out what the Matrix is. We can't sleep. We're Neo waking up looking at the computer.
I'm waiting to wake up. Somebody pull the damn cords.
Yeah.
I know, like here, it was
right back.
like we didn't get unions here by asking nicely.
Yeah.
We had to join together and we had to fight in order to get that. And it's going to be the same healthcare or anything else that we want. We're not going to get it by begging and asking nicely. We have to come together and say, look, we're not having this shit. Give us what we want. Give us what we need. Not necessarily what we want. This is what we need.
Yeah. You want a nice
We
car.
forget our history.
Health care.
I want a paddleboard. That's what a caller to Kevin. What do you think is the solution to getting our elected officials to pay attention to what our demands are? What do you think?
Show up in a giant mob at every single one of their houses and follow them like a dog after a chunk of red meat.
I'm an anarchist, and even I wouldn't go that far.
Fuck, you gotta make a damn point with these people.
No, I agree.
I mean, you can't pansy or pussyfoot around with them. You gotta be a complete fucking obsessive compulsive asshole to get anything done.
Yeah, so that's a good one because there are these protesters that go on the highways and they block traffic, which is mostly the people that aren't flying in on a helicopter.
They forced people to notice them.
Yeah, but the thing is I've told those people directly, and I've also emailed their groups and Facebook them, go block the driveway of the asshole senator, Republican, civil leader, or whatever that's messing with your life. Go block their driveway. Keep them from going to work.
Yep.
That's your idea. It's perfect. So I think that Ariel's pain is she's very grounded. She's like Avatar. Ewa's heard you. Ewa's heard you. She feels the pain of the nation, and I think she's feeling the pain of all these people, and you can just see it. You can just feel it.
You just kind of know. It's like a universal consciousness or something where you just know. You feel what is. Everybody's got a different story, but they're all going through a very similar situation. And it's not right, I think it's flipped. It's like JFK said, don't ask what your country can do for you, But now we do need our country to do some things for us, because we've been doing a lot for it. And I think that that's sort of the flip now. We've been doing a hell of a lot for the country. I mean, the country's been ass raping us every time we turn around. You know, it's just like,
and we are butthurt.
Yeah,
We're very butthurt.
Stealing your houses, stealing your wages, stealing your land, or trying to violate your civil rights. I mean, yeah, I mean, government's been fucking everybody for quite a while now.
right.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, they're assaulting us from all
Everybody
fronts.
except the rich people.
I mean, they right now they're trying to get rid of the personal income tax, which is going to defund all the programs that the people use. They're raising all the other taxes. They're taking our land because of fracking. People don't want fracking on their land, so they're just going to straight up take your land. And so, yeah, and it's the same thing. That's what West Virginia was doing. They took the Mountaineers' land back in the day because of coal. It's all about all these people that are out of state. And it's not just us. This is happening in North Dakota. It's happening. If there is an industry in your state, which is most states, you know, they're coming for you if they haven't already, you know. Get
Yeah,
this.
if you got something they want, they'll freaking beat the hell out of you to take it.
Yeah. It's I have to, I don't know if any of y'all have ever heard of Lucy Parsons. She lived up until 1942, and she was a Black and American Indian woman who married a white Confederate soldier after the Civil War. Hard to believe union, but they got married. And they didn't want to live, you know, in the South anymore, because she had seen her own people lynched, you know, from lampposts there. So they moved, and they became anarchist organizers. And during the Haymarket demonstration back in the late 1800s, yeah, there she is. You know, there was a bomb thrown, and her husband was framed for it. They executed him. So she was pretty pissed off. So one time, this is from a story that I heard from Utah Phillips. She was speaking at a big May Day rally in the 1930s during the Great Depression, you know, and she was incredibly old at that point. And so they led her carefully up to the roster, and the multitude of people were there, and she had her hair tied back in a tight white bun, her face a mass of deeply incised wrinkles, the image of everyone's great grandmother, and she walked up there and hunched over that podium hawk-like and fixed that giant multitude with those steely eyes, and she said, "What I want is for every greasy, grimy tramp to arm himself with a knife or a gun, and positioning himself at the doorways of the rich, shoot or stab them as they come out."
That sounds like a plan.
That is a plan, exactly.
And she said, "Never be deceived that the rich will permit you to vote away their wealth." You know.
Yeah, you have to have the rich absolutely fucking terrified of you.
And that's the thing is Utah Phillips, you know, when he related the story, he said, you know, he's a pacifist. He's like, but she was angry as hell. She had seen so much corruption and so much shit, and her husband had been killed as a result of all of it. She had lived through the Civil War. And it's hard to imagine someone whose life had encompassed that, you know, stretch of time. And she was just at the end of her rope. You know, this is
Fuck it.
sick of it. Yeah, exactly. That's how, exactly. Yeah. Shoot or stab them. just hang out
It's going to come to that point.
and wait.
You know, give it another 10, 15 years when shit starts getting really bad. If the shit doesn't change, it will come to that point. That's an inevitability.
I think so. I think that, you know, there will be a time and that's why deep down, like Stevie's saying, how they are terrified. What do you think they're terrified of? They're terrified that people will wake up enough and something will happen, whether it's violent or not. Hopefully it doesn't have to be violent, but the fact of the matter is,
if they have any brains to them at all, they'll start playing ball with us before shit hits the fan, because if it does, they ain't going to make it through anything.
If they know their history, I mean, you would look at the fact that every time people get pushed and pushed and pushed and marginalized, eventually they start to realize, hey, it's not each other that's keeping us poor. It's that freaking guy. Go get him. You know, it's kind of
yeah. It's this one asshole that's been playing us all against each other.
Exactly. Yep. Know it.
Well,
And
not
you can
one
only
asshole,
keep
it's
up
more
that
like
go-
a large group of assholes.
You can only keep up that game for
It's a
so
little
long.
asshole cabal, you know. It's a little special enclave of assholes.
Not a pretty picture.
But it's also true. But it's also true.
So George Carlin said it's a big group or whatever,
Big club.
and you're not in
You're
it.
not part of it.
Yeah, so it's a big piece of shit, and we're not in it.
Yep.
Well, you know what? Our club's even bigger.
And it has blackjack and hookers.
Wait, what did he say? I didn't catch that.
You've never seen that Futurama episode where they went to the moon?
Oh,
Which
with
one?
the amusement park.
Yeah. Fine. I'll start up my own amusement park with blackjack
Yeah.
and hookers.
I love Futurama. You know what was my favorite one?
Oh, it's a funny show.
You want to know what one of my favorite episodes? Where Bender became a woman.
Wait, that actually happened?
Yeah.
That wasn't my favorite.
Yeah.
I like the ones where the one where Bender went to hell.
Oh yeah, I remember
Yeah.
that one. Robot Hell.
No, it's like you were,
Yeah, robot hell. Yeah.
I just love Bender
Uh,
anyway.
Bender was
Bender's my
awesome.
favorite.
You
It
always
was
carried
pretty
a
awesome.
best.
The newer ones, but the one where he had the duplicating shrinker.
Oh shit, which one was that?
It was one of the newer seasons. The duplicating shrinker and Benderama, I think that's the name of the episode. He just keeps cloning himself. Then he devours all the alcohol on the planet. And then he gets so small, like to a molecular level, that he starts making water into alcohol.
Oh god.
Yeah, it's just insanity. You know, and then everybody on the planet's got to live through it. So they're at first they're thinking this is a self-solving problem. All the robots run on alcohol, and then they've gotten small enough to turn our water into alcohol. Now all the water on Earth is alcohol.
Oh no.
Everybody, in the episode, it's just hilarious because everybody's drunk as shit. You know.
You think Rick had a problem before? Oh boy.
Oh, I have other news.
You don't understand, Morty. This is a gold mine.
You know, I mentioned before about like how the trees and the foliage here is dying. Well, I met this woman, Maria Gano, and she's done environmental activism, fighting against mountaintop removal for several decades now. And I messaged her talking about, what's been going on. And she's put me in contact with a guy from the University of Tennessee. And she thinks that it has something to do with air pollution, which, we have a coal fire, power plant here. So, it makes sense. So I'm going to talk to him and see if we can figure it out for sure.
So
Well, I mean, leaves dying on trees and all that can be a lot of reasons. I mean, you could have a beetle infestation around there. Don't get me wrong, it could possibly be the pollution. I mean, I'm not doubting that. In some places, it definitely is. But I mean, there are also other factors that could have done that.
Yeah, that's what I want to figure out for sure, because I just did within a 30-mile radius. It's
30 miles
from one end of the plant. I'm not sure exactly where I know it's around Charleston, and which seems to be like ground zero.
And wind patterns in the area just to get an idea of what's going where. Look for heavy industry in the area. I mean, that'll give you a good idea of what's in the air and what's going where.
Yeah, because whatever it is, I just want to get it fixed because, I mean, it is literally killing everything. I don't know what it is.
Hey, Zork, are there, I know we had some people come around here, and there was like this little fly, excuse me, they were really concerned about. And then in Hawaii, which has become a problem too. It's not a fruit fly. It's like worse. It's smaller. It's just everywhere. And then there was in Hawaii, there was this fungus growing all over, like red fungus that was growing all over the brush and the trees, and they controlled that. But are there funguses out there that are pretty that can kind of eat up an entire forest?
Well, I imagine so. I mean, they've made bacteria like, well, I don't know about naturally occurring, but I don't know. There's probably something. I mean, you go into the rainforest, you probably got something that, is an aggressive fungus like that.
Anything you know about Zork?
I mean, I wouldn't doubt it.
Unmute. Okay.
Thought I did. Must have bounced. Yeah, I don't know a specific one at the time, but one of the problems is that the 2-degree shift, different funguses and things thrive at different temperatures. It's a moist, and you almost have to go back and rewrite all the books because we've shifted into different range of friendliness to all types of organisms.
Very true.
Oh, there it is.
We're not only losing good ones or bad ones, or getting bad ones, we're losing good ones.
Yep. Yeah.
So the climate, go ahead.
Things that used to be in control might not be in control at this temperature.
Like those algae blooms?
Yep.
Well, the algae blooms have multiple problems. We are just putting so many nutrients into the near coastlines that we're making great big brown blobs off of the west coast of the United States.
Florida seems to be pretty bad from what I know about it.
I'm not sure on Florida. I can't imagine they're good.
It depends on the area.
20 years
they
ago.
were pretty bad.
Yeah, 20 years
like
ago.
As of now.
Like where? In specific in Florida?
20 years ago.
I'm not sure about the exact location. They did something about it on, what was it, RT or something a few months back, like 7 or 8 months ago. But apparently it's has something to do with the sugar they're growing or whatever. They let the wetlands drain dry, basically, or the water run through it or something like that. I'm not sure the exact reason. It has to do with the heavy amounts of fertilizer runoff.
Mm-hmm.
But screwing up one of the rivers. I know the river was toxic and it's undrinkable.
Well, I mean, the Gulf Coast has been a dead zone for a long time because of all the runoff from, the Mississippi and, comes straight down into dumps out right there. Not to mention the wonderful oil spills. I mean, terrible tragedies there.
Florida has a problem with the northern half of the state to be able to produce in that sandy soil. It has to use an extremely large amount of fertilizer. Also, they need to use a large amount of glyphosate, which gets into the lakes there in the swampy areas and just lets it go out of control as it becomes just such a major food for it. And then the coastline eutrophication zones are mostly fueled by Illinois, Iowa, the Dakotas, Nebraska, in those areas, and they've got massive amount of nutrients, larger than many United States.
Interesting.
So the shift, so we're not only the domino effect of climate change is far-reaching than just elevating the water and melting ice.
Yeah, it's a big domino.
Yeah,
that's correct. The worst part of it is the species that losing their friendly zones. Every species has a window of its existence, especially bacteria. When there's a reason we have fevers when we get sick, we shift our body temperature up to something that's unfriendly to the invading bacteria or virus.
Yep.
And these same things are happening out in the wild. Well, what's happening is that the bacteria that were controlling the other, or other mechanisms like different birds that can fly around, as the temperature goes up 2 degrees, the density of the oxygen goes down. So birds that could fly 100 miles might only be able to fly 60. That starts to say that birds that used to depend on being able to fly between the islands can't anymore. So with With the islands, the interaction of birds between the islands was very important to the ecosystems in the islands, and I'm concerned that that's not going to last much longer.
Yeah, I could see how that could be very important. I mean, if the birds on a chain of islands there, I mean, they're basically the ones that spread the seeds out all through the different islands.
They not only spread the seeds, they spread the nutrients. Different birds, different diets, and you need a good mixture of bird poop on the islands. And remember, the islands are on rocks. You can go up to some parts on the island, especially right on Diamond Head volcano. They had to cut through little of the vents when they put the roads in, and when you drive through, you see how small the soil is on top of Hawaii, and it's a very fragile system that we have to treat like a treasure.
Yeah, it's not very deep. It used to be lava, and then it kind of time shifted to dirt. But if you dig down far enough, you're going to hit rock, and it's pretty solid.
Yeah.
And I've done it before. I used to work construction, and it sucks.
It's not a deep place unless you go to where they used to drop the bodies off the cliffs.
They used to, yeah. There's a lot of old folklore back then, but not just the Hawaiian Islands. We're talking the Polynesias. We're talking the Virgin Islands, out there by where Erik is. Just islands in general, just the climate shifting.
Huh?
Isn't Guam near there too? I can't, but for some reason, it just like crossed my mind that Hawaii was near Guam, but I think it's like quite a ways away. I'd have to double check that.
Everything is far in the Pacific.
You were talking about islands, and that just kind of popped into my head there.
Yeah, it's far, but it's all changing, and it's happening quickly, and it just really seems like the species, these migrations and these processes and their habitual systems that they've been doing for thousands and thousands of years aren't going to be able to catch up to such a rapid transformation of the climate. It's just they can't catch up. It's not going to happen.
Right.
How is Hawaii going to get hit by sea level rise? I mean, how much land are they going to lose if that hits them?
The thing is, and that is definitely something that will come, but the thing that most ecologists and earth scientists are seeing is that it's almost like the sea level rise will be an afterthought to the damage and the breakdowns that will happen far before that comes. There's going to be much bigger collapses and things that will interfere with the way of life as we know it before the sea level ever becomes a thing. It's almost going to be like that'll be the cherry on the crap cake.
There's a picture. Diamond Head volcano is in the background.
Wow.
And this is a road that they cut around for tourists to go see a blowhole. So it's basically a road all around the outside of the island. This is Oahu. And that shows you how thin the soil is in some places.
I know where that is. I used to surf out there.
Something thick, 2 inches?
I'm just heading this way. I know where that's at.
Yeah. Everybody else was taking pictures out to the sea, and I was taking pictures of all the geological formations. You don't see this in Iowa.
No, definitely not.
No.
There is a perfect thing of intrusions where the volcanic rock built up and then cracked, and the new magma was coming up through the little vents, and you can see all the upright little vents around there. And that's really how Hawaii formed, and it's all shown in this little bit. And then Hawaii is such a young island or this is Oahu, that's how much dirt is in that area.
Yeah.
So everything has to be now in the middle of the island. The dirt kind of flows to the middle. So in the valleys in the middle, and like I said, there's this range where it's rumored that they used to throw royal bodies off, or bury the bodies in the hills, and then whoever buried them had to jump off the cliff.
Wow.
And that area had good soil.
The folklore.
Yeah. Well, I mean, everybody had brutal past, and I don't know that was any less brutal than putting 5 women in a boat and burning them to death with Vikings.
Yeah, everybody has their crazy cultures.
Yeah, and it's
so they know how to put the word cult into culture.
But I mean, it's reaching enough with the Vikings that we know it happened. So I wouldn't discount anything that we hear in the folklore of the Islanders, because so little of it is taught in our schools. I doubt there's that many experts on it. And I worry that the islands themselves are losing their history.
Yes.
If you want to look into that, I mentioned the guy the other day, Zork. I'll put him up after you take down the history of the islands in one picture, which is pretty freaking awesome.
Oh.
No, I like it, but
I'd be curious.
I'm gonna put somebody for you.
Both Snork and James, this is a question for both of y'all.
Okay.
How much actual farming gets done on the islands of Hawaii, and what would be the crops that they could yield if they do? Just because of the lack of deep soil in most areas, because of it being so volcanic.
Okay, just from what I've seen, he probably has a better answer than I do. But just from what I've seen, they've grown avocados out there, which have done pretty well. And what's interesting about Hawaii is, on one side of the island, it can be really wet and moist. And on another side, or just on the east side or catty corner from it, it could be dry, like perfect for a different type of plant. It's very interesting. And then, so avocados are good. Of course, they had a lot of cane fields, but they don't have cane anymore, sugar cane. Pineapples are kind of rare. Most of those are coming from Mexico now. A lot of the agriculture you know how I stopped mid-sentence, but that island could be so, in my opinion, self-sufficient for the people that live there. I really think so.
Because once I was on a flight once, and I was talking to a guy who was from Hawaii.
Or any of the tidal, resource they have, or the ocean currents, that just screws with me. It's like you're on a freaking island. You have nothing but sun, wind, water, and waves, and you're not using any of it. We're going to ship in.
That is incorrect.
Oil.
Hawaii is probably
what?
Hawaii is probably the best example of using ambient energy that I've ever seen. There is a conference going on today. I was supposed to be there. I just couldn't go. Even the Pentagon supports it on getting Hawaii to be 100% off of all fossil fuels.
Right.
Their islands are full now of solar plants. They're looking at plants for energy of all types. And right now, they have so much daytime power that they're more, they know that they're going to come in line on daytime power. They're more worried about nighttime power right now. Storage, overproduction during the day and storing for the night, and other means of producing for the night. And that's why I was there.
Well, that's good to hear.
Our previous one.
Yeah, I was.
Hawaii is absolutely amazing when it comes to ecology and the efforts that are being done there. And I have seen no state, not even California or Nevada, come close to it when it comes to using solar or ambient power.
I was going to say, I was once talking to a guy from Hawaii. I don't know if people can hear me. He was basically, long story short, telling me that a lot of their food is imported, from the mainland. And he said sometimes you just can't get what you want because it's not available. And he was a current resident there. And he said, sometimes you just don't have strawberries, or you just don't have, whatever it was, because they just didn't bring it that week or whatever, it is.
A lot of Hawaii's producing capability is eaten up by Monsanto.
Mm.
In Iowa, we get one crop in per year.
Wow.
So what Monsanto's, and my wife was threatened with having to go over there.
Wow.
And she didn't want to go because they'll have 4 fields, and they will rotate them every 3 months. One goes into planting, and well, they have more than 4 fields, but I'm just saying they're in groups of 4. So what takes 4 years to do in Iowa, they can do that research in 1 year in Hawaii. So it's extremely ramped testing, and they'll test soybeans there, they'll test corn, but a lot of the really good Hawaii that actually could be used to support themselves is taken up by the mainland's research. And Monsanto's not the only one that has these facilities. So they can, if there's a new GMO corn or any type of new breed line, you have to get a certain number of seeds up before you can be supporting. In Hawaii, you can do that in 1 year. In Iowa, you need half a decade.
Right.
So I just put up Easter Island, and the reason why I put up Easter Island, I'll do it again just in case somebody missed it, is Easter Island, and we're talking about Hawaii still flourishing and still fine. Of course, the Western world and the industrial world has beat it to shit, in my opinion. But the greatest example of what I think we're doing to this planet is Easter Island, from what historians are telling us, is that at a certain point, they ate the rich. At the end, they literally ate the rich.
Hmm.
Yeah.
But that's also a bit mixed up. The Easter Island story, the Rapa Nui, after it came out, wasn't just them cutting down the trees. Was when the ships came in from other countries that introduced rats, and they had no predators for rats, that they actually ate the coconuts, and the replenishing of trees that they would cut down for boats and everything. It wasn't just them rapidly using them all up to make statues. These little creatures were chewing the trees down, and once they get hungry, they'll eat anything for the sap or whatever. And it was kind of a racist thing that they thought that they were all so stupid that they killed themselves.
Mm.
And in the end, they ended up killing them.
What was that?
It's kind of like what happened in Australia when they had invasive species get in there. I think it was like, what was it?
The Australians did it on purpose.
There's a difference.
Yeah, the Australians had a rat problem from ships, and then they imported rabbits, and pretty soon they had rabbits and rats all over the place.
Rabbits.
And then you could throw a stick at a bush and 100 rabbits would run out of it.
Oh my
Then they thought, okay, let's import cats to eat the rabbits and rats.
Oh, brother.
Australia still hasn't completely recovered from their attempts.
With a worse problem, and then when that screws up, you figure out another worse problem.
Well, I mean, think about it. They come from the line of the Brits, which is a group of people known for overcomplicating their own problems.
Yeah, let me see if I can get some pictures up of what happened.
Has anyone ever heard of the story of the day they parachuted cats into Borneo?
What?
I probably have, but remind me. But I think I have.
Okay, so anyone know what DDT is?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. So way back when the people the corporations that were cultivating in Borneo were using DDT in order to kill an infestation of crop eaters, and it worked. But then it turned out that the local cats were eating all of it was the rats that were eating all these bugs that were eating the DDT infested plants. And then all the cats in Borneo would start eating the rats that ate the insects that were covered in DDT. And what it ended up happening is that it ended up killing the cat population.
Right.
And which meant that all the termites and the rats that they all ran wild. So the situation ended up getting so bad that the UN actually literally had to paratroop in cats. It's just to deal with the infestation.
I don't know if that's sort of more of like an urban legend, but I think very much.
No, this is a real story.
No, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the fact that in the UK there was a long period of time where they believed that cats were so associated with witchcraft and all that, they killed massive amounts of cats. And then when they started having the plagues and things, and the rats were out of control, they had to basically import a bunch of cats. So, things like that happen. So crazy.
Yeah, they probably thought, hindsight 2020, maybe we shouldn't have killed all the cats.
Yeah. People are freaking crazy. No matter what happens, they're all nuts.
Hey, look at it this way.
Oh, check that out.
Never to fuck with witchcraft.
Oh, look at that. What is this?
That's the Australian rat.
Well, I feel like I'm down south now. Time to go out for a rat killing. Yeah, you go down south. There'll be a bunch of guys will get together with shotguns and just go down to an infested barn or somewhere and just kill them. Just open fire. Have a rat killing.
Can't find the stop share thing.
I watched a documentary on Netflix all about rats. It was actually pretty fascinating. They're incredibly intelligent, which makes them very hard to get rid of. You almost have to outthink them.
Or what was it? You can't bring animals into the country or invasive species. I know. What was the thing with Johnny Depp? Like they threatened to euthanize his girlfriend's dog or something, and they forced him to do a YouTube video saying he's sorry and he respects the Australian government. Like they weren't fucking around with this shit. Like the rabbits and everything, they don't want to screw around with that again.
Well, that's how nutrias got over here is because back even before the Revolutionary War, French and Indian fur trappers in the Ohio River Valley, basically, they hunted every darn mink and fox and rabbit and fur-bearing creature to the point that there really wasn't much at all left. So they thought, well, we'll bring the nutria over from Europe because the nutria is furry and it sexually matures very quick and it, has tons and tons and tons of them. And, we'll do that. But it turns out nobody really wanted to wear giant, oily rat fur. And they don't taste very good. So the damn things just, got out of hand and now they're everywhere. The nutrias are all over the darn place. And look at all these bunnies.
Good idea. Like, we'll be able to fix this. And then it all goes.
I want to be like Elmira.
Oh my gosh. It's too adorable. Have you heard of the Japanese rabbit island? There's an island off of Japan. One of the islands of Japan has it's covered in rabbits because after they had used it as a military base, and for a while people lived there, and probably they kept the rabbits for food. But when they all took off, they forgot to take all the rabbits with them, and now, because there's no natural predators on the island, it's a rabbit island.
Yeah. I don't know why the Australians thought that rabbits would get rid of rats.
Yeah, just Google search Japanese rabbit island, and you'll see some funny stuff.
But that was pictures of the rabbit problem after the rat problem in Australia.
Here, are you saying like rabbits will eat rats?
No, rabbits won't eat any living thing.
Are you sure about that?
Fix that they got rabbits, or I don't know all the details of it here. I just know the general.
Yeah, New Zealand had the absolute worst of all. They had a problem with skunks. So
Oh dear God!
they got the idea that these invasive skunks would. I don't know why they had the skunks. They had an idea that they could.
Ideas.
Right, but they wanted to get all the skunks on one side of the island where they could kill them. So they went out and
Smells so bad, nobody will want to come here.
yeah, they captured 10,000 skunks, castrated them,
Oh God!
cremated their testicles, and
Holy
spread them
shit.
in areas to scare the rabbits to the, or not rabbits, the skunks to the other side of the island. For some reason, it didn't work.
Yeah, it's almost like, it turns out a total of hunt tactics to work against skunks.
I swear to God!
Holy shit.
I
That's
really
like
hated skunks, man.
that's like some Old Testament shit, right? It turns out ancient Israeli tactics of warfare don't actually work against skunks. Jesus Christ.
And God saith, "Thou shalt smite the skunks."
I can't even take this seriously.
Oh boy!
This is actually so absurd. I can't take it seriously, because if I did, I'd have to call into question the sanity of the people
Oh
involved.
my goodness! Oh my
Holy
God!
fuck.
Let's just do this insane shit, and we think it will probably work. It's just where does this craziness come from?
I think I agree.
This insane. I mean, how did they get into a position to where, oh yeah, I'm in charge of a country and I'm gonna fuck everything up?
I think that I agree with James Howard Kunstler on this, and because he has talked a lot about how we're here and why we're here and why people make the decisions they do, and he said, I believe that a lot of it just started with the thought, well, it seemed like a good idea at the time. And that period of time where it seemed like a good idea can change very, very quickly to, oh, maybe that wasn't such a good idea. A few seconds later, you're like, ah, shit.
Well,
it's kind of like the idea of the what was it? Like, I think it was like 3 or 4 years ago. Evidently, they were doing they were trying to make a bacteria that lives on roots of plants, and they wanted to do some crops, so they would convert the starch from the roots into alcohol. So when they tilled it, they could use that for fuel or something along those lines. But and they did it in a lab condition, and what ended up happening is, like, if this bacteria that pretty much lives on every root on the planet were to escape basically all earth soil on the entire planet, would have been alcoholic, and all the plants would have died. It's just like craziness. It's like, well, it sounded like a good idea at first. Let's turn we don't have to till up the roots from this, and we can turn it into alcohol and make fuel from it. It's a great idea, and then it's like it could have destroyed all of humanity.
Well, the cats in Australia were bad enough. You can't find any pictures of the cat invasion. They tried to get rid of the rabbits. Somebody has released Black Panthers trying to get rid of their problem.
What?
Oh yeah, that's a great idea. Let's release a 300-pound predator that can kill us.
Now, they did this without the permission of the country. They're just starting to show up. And
Oh my God!
Black panthers do not just swim over to Australia for a couple shrimps at the Barbie. You have to bring them there.
This is starting to sound like the song, you know, the little old lady who swallowed the fly. I don't know why she swallowed the fly, and then she swallows the other thing to get rid of the fly, and then it just keeps going and going. That's how it feels.
I'd like to know who pitched that idea. Like, okay, guys, I got an idea. I'm going to solve this. Panthers. What?
Bears.
I'm thinking the panthers are there to get rid of the feral camels.
Wait, what?
What do we do with the feral panthers now? Do we what do? We release something that'll eat their food supply off, and then we deal with the next thing?
Bengal tigers.
Yes.
I've always liked tigers. You know, they're getting great. Why not bring them back a little bit?
Orcas with wheelchairs.
Honey badger.
Oh. I feel like we're about to lose our minds. Just a little bit.
I'm not losing my mind.
We haven't already?
That's assuming we had it to begin with. Triggered! Ah!
Oh my god.
So I think what's going to happen is, because we're not prepared for the Holocaust, the natural Holocausts that are coming. I don't think we're prepared at all.
Oh no!
I know there's FEMA camps in case we get out of hand.
Yes,
but I do. But the thing is there's going to be stupid. There's going to be some dumb decisions made that are going to be made by our supposed public servants, and people are probably going to lose their lives because they're not prepared. And nobody, I think, is prepared for what's about to hit us shortly. What do you think, Zork? You think we're prepared?
I just dropped my keyboard. Okay.
Zork, get prepared.
We're not that prepared. I mean, we need power for the cold days that are coming.
Yeah.
See, we're kind of living on the edge with the ability for us to run nuclear power plants. If we lose our water, or if there's a volcanic eruption, we're going to lose nuclear, wind, and solar power for a while. We could lose solar power for 2 years if either Yellowstone goes, or if what they call the sun of Krakatoa goes. And that could be bad. You have to have your home power systems ready. And
Mark, here's a thing that I've heard about from a lot of people that are smart guys like you, scientists and people that really study this stuff. But the effect of, and I'd like to know your idea on it, is the feeling and the realization that if we somehow say the grid is just powers down, we don't have electrical capability anymore. The big thought about that is that all of the nuclear reactors across the country and the world that are not able to be cooled anymore will melt down, and we will naturally have an extremely radioactive environment. And I'd love to hear your thoughts on that idea.
In the event of what it's called tephra release from a volcano like Yellowstone, when Mount St. Helens blew, any jet that was in the air lost their fan blades to tephra, and it's a very fine, not even a dust. Just think of it as
it's like aerated rock.
Yeah, but it looks like little jacks. The little cross things that you used to step on at school when girls were playing with them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I played jacks.
Okay. But they hurt when you forgot they're there.
Ninjas use them.
Yeah. Imagine those microscopic and getting into
Is it a tetrahydron in a sense?
It's really
Kind of.
crags.
Okay.
But people out in the West for over a year were putting nylons over their intakes for their cars to try to protect them so they could drive their cars. But it was ruining cars in the Northwest. Last time Yellowstone went, it left 500 feet deep of tephra all the way to Storm City, Iowa.
Damn.
And when you, yeah, that wasn't back then. This was a long time ago, and it killed all of the horses. It killed all the horses and hippopotamus in United or the entire Americas when it went off. A lot of species died off here, and but if you go across Iowa, when you go from east to west, when you get to the last 100 miles, maybe 50 miles, all of a sudden there's this great big hill that goes all the way from north to south in the state, and it's that from that deposit, and it's called the Loess Hills, Loess. And so we're not prepared for that. We just pretend that these risks aren't there, and we need the things. And my thought is that everything north of Missouri should have a 5-year supply of calcium oxide ready. Calcium oxide can be used in an enclosed room, and it makes heat while taking carbon dioxide out of the room. So
they used to use that for the rebreathers on scuba tanks.
Yeah.
Doesn't it catch fire if it gets moisture on it?
Well, you got to control it, just like you have to control gasoline and other fuels in the house. But it is the best fuel for heating in the north. The problem is afterwards you got to dispose of it. It becomes calcium carbonate. And to recharge it, you just need to take it to Arizona or Nevada in a train, put it in the hot sun, and it recovers itself. You can take it back up north after that, and it's ready to go. So you have an excellent storage unit for heat. And the other problem is when there's a lot of tephra in the air, you have to close the rooms up, and you need to get that carbon dioxide out some way. And
otherwise you're going to suffocate that.
So, I'm not saying that's the only answer, but we need to be thinking about how do we make these preparations. Up until 1982, 81, we had a 10-year supply of food for every person in the United States. In the early 80s, they started giving out what they called Ronnie cheese, which was a distribution of our emergency stores. To alleviate the problem of, we had a mini depression in the 80s in many of the states in the United States. To keep the people from starving and without having to add to the amount of money that we're spending on welfare and whatever, Reagan started giving out cheese, milk, flour,
right,
peanut butter. Did I miss one other than the cheese? Yeah, and so we got rid of the idea of keeping national stores of food for anybody except for Congress, the Supreme Court, and the presidential staff.
Wow. Unreal.
Hey, so who jumped on? Hey, real quick, 518 just came on. Hi.
Hi.
Have they been there for a while?
Oh, hi.
Hi, aloha, welcome.
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 Oh,
Welcome.
I don't have much to add to your environmental and scientific discussion tonight because I'm not a scientist. But I did call in about other issues that I was interested to see how you guys felt about them.
Go on ahead. Shoot.
Go ahead.
Oh,
Open
all right.
forum. Thank you,
you were
Zork.
going to lose your mind, so I thought it was a good idea, a good time to call in. But that was a very interesting fact about the food supply, though, I have to say. What I was wondering is, I really don't think that the healthcare bill is going to pass. So, and I feel that very deeply, that as corrupt as I think Congress is, I just don't think they're going to get the votes to do it. The Trump care, CHA or AHCA, whichever they decided. So I just don't think they're going to get the votes to pass this through the Senate. Although I was watching TYT about it today, and Jenk said that and I'm not a huge fan, but I was watching, and sometimes he's right on his predictions. And he'll always tell you afterwards that he was right about a prediction, but he never tells you how often he's wrong about predictions. And he actually predicted... What?
They mustn't know. They mustn't know.
Like, I honestly think that it's just a scare tactic, you know, like just to basically like keep us busy and threaten us with, you know, just keep them all scared and keep them distracted with this and not with them like not pay attention to what we're doing.
Yeah. So I didn't know, what I got really was. Like, well, don't be surprised if they do, but I don't think he's going to. The second thing that bothered me today, it came down, there was a Supreme Court ruling where federal funds were going to be used to pay for a rubberization, like a change of playground for a church school. So it's for kids
Are you
and
talking
everything.
about the thing where they shred up car tires and dump them on playgrounds?
Huh?
Are you talking about the thing where they shred up car tires and dump them on playgrounds and they think it's okay? It's like a replacement for wood chips?
All right, I think my connection is really bad today.
Yeah. Kevin, is your YouTube muted? Because I'm hearing that.
Yeah.
Oh, because I hear an echo feedback when you're on.
He's kind of coming in and out with his signal. I don't know if it's the phone or how it's coming through, but he sounds like video killed the radio star guy, and then I'll hear him talk. And then video killed the radio star guy happens again. Is everybody hearing that?
I agree.
Yeah. Can you switch to the PC apps instead of the phones?
Okay, I didn't hear that.
Can you switch to the PC application instead of the phones?
The PC application instead of the phone. Oh my gosh, that's very technical.
On the YouTube, there's a link underneath the picture. You get into that, we can hear you real clear.
I mean, I can actually hear you now.
Yeah, we can't hear you.
No, I can hear it pretty good.
Yeah, I can hear her. It's Kevin who's going in and out like that.
Yeah, I didn't get her name. What was your name, young lady?
Amy from New York.
Thank you.
Yes.
Okay,
where is it?
I'm James.
Phone thing?
It's in the description box. It's the top one, I believe.
Gosh, I've definitely never done this before.
It's all right. You're doing fine. It's fantastic.
Yeah, you're good, Amy.
Amy, you're good.
Oh, the phone is okay?
Yeah, Amy, you're fine.
Okay. So the Supreme Court ruling where they were very narrowly going to allow federal funds to be used to fund a new playground at a church. I think it was in Missouri.
Mm-hmm.
Was another thing that kind of bothered me today. The other thing that's been on my mind has been the sort of what's going on with Bernie Sanders' wife and how that's being played out in the media, because over time, looking back on it, and I didn't know it at the time, but when like Howard Dean was running for president, how the media then made a huge deal about him woohooing at a rally. And then all of a sudden, we had John Kerry as a nominee. And then even in New York, Elliot Spitzer had like this sort of sex scandal with prostitutes using a government phone. But the thing is, Elliot Spitzer was actually pretty tough on Big Bang. So it's sort of, it's as if these smear jobs come in times that it suits just the establishment. And so I haven't heard anything specific about Jane Sanders or why this would be, so why this is any different or worse, or if it's even bad. I mean, there's no facts. There's just all of these stories that don't actually tell you any information. Sure, of course.
From what I know of the Jane Sanders thing, from the financial information and of what I could find available, there's a nice thing that goes through and explains it. If anybody wants to go over, it's on like Burlington Free Press from 2014 or whatever. It was going directly after it happened. But if you look at the money that she borrowed and then what it went to buy, it bought 32 acres and also a building that was a 77,000 square foot building that was bought from the Catholic Church, I believe it was. And the whole plan was to put like a joint thing with another college. I think it was Fairfax. They wanted to do a woodworking thing to add on to it, and they wanted to sell the other 16 acres for low-income housing. And well, that low-income housing idea was an afterthought, but I mean, the whole thing about saying all these
barely hear you, Kevin.
Yeah, can hardly hear you.
I can tell. Oh, you can't hear me?
No, I can barely hear you.
Well, we just did. What did you just do? Did you speak closer, or did you have it a certain way, or kind of? Why don't you let's sing a song and try to work?
How do I sound now? Hello, hello, hello.
Okay, right there.
Like
That's good.
Everybody hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
That's good.
All right. From what I know of the whole Jane Sanders thing, like financially, it was an ambitious plan that had risk to it to begin with. But I mean, when they're talking about, they pocketed money, I mean, you can clearly see the money went to buying the land, the money went to paying for the staff and all that. And even that second loan they took, because they took one loan for $6.5 million and then the next one, it was like 2 or 3 different loans. It wasn't just one. They keep saying it's this $10 million loan, and it wasn't, from what I can tell, there was no $10 million loan. The one loan that they took, the largest one, was 6.5. That's what I could tell from that Burlington Free Press thing. But they keep trying to tie it to Bernie and saying, he used his influence to push this, and possibly he did. But I mean, from the information that I have now, I mean, I can't see fraud. I see an ambitious plan that fell through.
Right.
I don't see fraud.
And the only good news, I thought there was actually some good news that I heard today, which I was surprised about. And of course, it has nothing to do with the United States. But Macron, the new French president, that I heard that he was taking a renewed approach to Syria, and that he was no longer going to support overthrowing Assad's regime, because regime changes just don't work. And I was really actually at least slightly optimistic about that, because in their election, I sort of saw him as, like, I guess maybe a younger version and a French version of Hillary Clinton or something. But I was really actually surprised. It was a nice surprise to me that he was actually taking that approach. But anyway, those were the news stories that I was thinking about today. So,
did you see, I don't know if anyone was aware of this. I don't remember anyone saying much about it, but it was absolutely hilarious to me when Trump and all these different world leaders went over there. It was, God, I don't even remember what the name of the meeting was, but when Macron met with Trump, it was so hilarious. They had like a handshake fight. Macron, because he had read and this is true because Trump has written about it and people have talked about it, how when he goes to meet somebody, he'll shake their hand. He has this dominance handshake he does, right? Where it's like leg humping dogs. It really is. It's like he'll grab their hand and really, like to dominate the person when he meets them before he even starts talking to them. And Macron knew this. So when you can look it up, Trump-Macron handshake fight. He goes in and the look on his face is priceless. Macron is just looking at Trump with this little steely, he's kind of got his teeth gritted. He's like, and he just grabbed the shit out of Trump's hand. And Trump tried to take his hand back and Macron wouldn't let go. It was pretty good. That's awesome.
That's how you fucking leadership.
And then there was another thing that happened in the same event where all these people were walking and Merkel was there and there was a bunch of different people and some, Trump was in line, right? And Macron comes walking up to come talk to them and Trump puts his hands out like, hey, I'm the first person you're going to talk to. And Macron completely walks beside him and he hugs, Merkel and he shakes hands with the other guy and he's like, oh, I'll get to you, Trump. And then Trump tries to go in and tries to grab his hand and then Macron kind of like slaps his arm away. It's so immature, but it was hilarious. I mean, it's like I don't know a lot about this guy, and yes, he's very young, but I had to give him some props for that. That was pretty good. I was like, yep.
I think that he's very neoliberal, especially for France. But the thing is, but they would rather that than the other crazy choice that they had between after the preliminary voting. So.
Yeah.
I mean, it was either that or just total racist.
Right.
France was the French are not gonna. I lived over there for a year teaching high school English, and I would have been surprised if they went that far. But I know sort of the global sentiment now. I mean, when you look at Brexit and then you see what happened here, and I could easily explain that, even though most people around me couldn't explain that. Even Van Jones, the next day, I remember I actually watched a clip of that on CNN. I thought it was amazing. He's like, what am I going to tell my children? I'm like, well, you tell your children that people can't pay their healthcare premiums. And that Hillary offered no solution to that. And that their homes were taken away. And Barack Obama forgot to put those people in jail.
Right.
So, I mean, that's what you tell them. But he didn't know the day after the election. Yeah. And that was very alarming to me too. But I don't know. I was happy that what I considered a neoliberal for France would actually take a nice, at least a foreign policy stance that I could get behind, because Macron saying no to regime change, no to arming terrorist groups for regime change. Like, why are we doing this?
That's interesting. I like to hear about you. I would love at some point to hear about your experience living there. But yeah, I think the other thing too, from what I definitely perceive, is that the French people have a lot more influence over the directions their governments take, and it's not like here. They actually kind of listen to people there more, and it's not like here. They ignore us, for a large.
They don't want another French Revolution.
No, I mean, when you've got a period of time where that many people get killed, it leaves a mark for sure.
And sometimes, I mean, I think about that a lot. Is European countries have such a longer history than we do.
Yes.
With this type of government, and it's sort of like we're so big, we're so powerful, we refuse to equate ourselves. Somehow we're different. Well, the thing is, fundamentally, we're all not that different.
Right.
So, and what we want is not all that different. So why? Why can't we all have health care? Why, or whatever it is, or like the Norwegian prison system, for example, is something that I read about when I was I don't know, over 20 years ago about how they try to rehabilitate people, and that's just not what we do here. And it's becoming less and less what we do here. Profit has become into the equation.
Yes, I mean,
that's
the answer. You answered your own question. And anytime that you wonder why we don't have something, follow the money. Who's making a profit off of keeping us from not having it? And you'll have your answer immediately. Insurance companies, big pharma, et cetera, down and down the loop. There's a lot of people that would lose a lot of money if people had universal health care here. And we were talking about this earlier. Is there any way to wrest that out of their hands without killing them? I mean, that's what happened in France. They the only way that they could see to get this turned over was to literally go to the castle and take them out of their place and say, you're coming to Paris with us, and we're going to hold you accountable. We're going to watch you and see what you do, and we're going to make sure you do right. And they kept, the king and queen around for several years, quite a few years after they actually took them out of Versailles. They didn't chop their heads off immediately. It took some time. And they finally got to the point where they said, in order for the revolution to live, the monarchy has to die. And that's there were some things that happened up in leading. It wasn't a completely knee-jerk response. But that's what is it that's going to overturn it? I think that people are beginning to maybe find their voice, but we have a very demoralized and very beat down populace in America. People are very unhappy. They're very stressed. They're overburdened with debt of all kinds. And it's hard for people to rise up when they're in such a, they're literally just burdened. They're burdened down. And to get them up out of that.
They're actually actively beating you down with a stick.
Yeah.
I mean, when you have a tax system where, okay, if you make under $250,000, you pretty much pay more than somebody that makes over it. It's kind of, proportionally for what you make.
Right.
That just shows you it's like, well, screw poor people. Who'd
Right.
rather take it from poor people and let the rich get rich?
I think the young people might still. HA made a joke about this tonight on with Tim Black, saying that him and Tim were over 40, so the spirit had been beat out of them.
Mm-hmm.
but that Niko was still younger, and I think that millennials might still have a spirit that they can do something.
Right.
Which I hope that that's true, because I happen to be. I'm not over 40, but I'm in the more of the demoralized category, I think.
Right.
At this point.
Well, I say never give up hope. Mother Jones was called the most dangerous woman in America when she was 83 years old.
Oh, God, I hope I don't make it that long.
I'm kind of scared to see what it's going to look like in 40 more years. I don't know. We'll see. I don't know if I want to make it there either, Amy.
Well, no worries.
No, you have kids, right, Ariel?
No, I have 2 rabbits.
You have okay, and
Just
that's
as
not an
bad.
animal that lives that
2
long.
fuzzy children.
They don't live as long.
No. But the fact of the matter, I always say this, it's funny, I don't have kids and I never wanted kids, but I want to make sure everybody else's kids are all right.
Right.
They're going to have to deal with this stuff.
Well, that was something that I actually thought about while you guys were talking about the environment. And I have to say, it was very scientific and insightful and far above my head, because I'd have to hire experts.
Snork is above all of our heads. He's like way over here. It was like...
But
you wouldn't see the paper. That's how high he's out of the picture. Sorry, go ahead. Sorry.
I did take environmental law, and it was one of my worst classes ever in time. So I am slightly familiar with it. But then when the Dakota pipeline thing came around, I was like, what the hell is going on? And then when Donald Trump appointed Scott Pruitt, I'm like, what the hell is going on? Because he basically allowed just fracking in the entire state. And now I heard somebody's from Oklahoma, I thought, there.
Yep.
But but that they have more earthquakes now.
Oh yeah.
And so
I
that
got
could
some
be
crack in my
considered.
ceiling actually.
And I actually, I want to call it, quote, a disaster, because it's really a preventable disaster. Like, if you continue to have policies in certain states, for example, who they elect people who have policies where they're going to create their own disaster, should our federal tax money then be used to correct that? And I don't know. It just occurred to me, like, I don't know. Why should I, as a New Yorker, where I don't think that they do fracking, I think they made laws against fracking, if I'm not mistaken.
Fracking in almost every state.
Did you watch Josh Fox?
Awake from Standing Rock? I did at the Tribeca Film Festival.
Yeah, he did the thing on fracking. Josh Fox.
The Gasland movie?
Yes.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
No, I did, and one thing that was, well, aside from the fracking, I think I actually worked in New London, Connecticut as a librarian in the early 2000s, and the Kilo versus New London case, where they started taking land, and now they're taking land for these oil companies, which was very prevalent in that movie and in Dakota Pipeline again today. So I think even Ruth Bader Ginsburg, God bless her, still voted for that, which I totally disagree with.
No, but sadly not unexpected.
What was that, Snork?
just a tidbit to add on to that whole Ruth Bader Ginsburg thing. You know who put her in that place, right?
Bill Clinton.
What, during the Kilo New London thing?
No, I'm just talking about her. Who you're talking about? Ruth Bader Ginsburg, the Supreme Court justice.
Yeah.
Clinton put her there.
Yeah.
Don't put anybody anywhere unless they can blackmail them.
Unless they can, I'm sorry.
Unless they can blackmail them.
That was a banana.
Yeah, I like it. Oh, Kevin, we can't hear you. I don't know if you're talking. You might want to try signing into the meeting, Ring Central Meetings link on the actual YouTube page.
I don't have a webcam or a microphone. Bill Clinton appointed her to the Supreme Court. And if you know the Clintons, the only people they recommend are people they have in their pockets.
Try cupping your hand. Try cupping your hand around the microphone on the phone. See if that concentrates. Yeah.
Did you catch what I say, or do you want me to repeat it?
You might want to repeat it, but it's a lot better when you have your hand down there.
Okay. Basically, she was appointed by the Clintons. You know, Bill Clinton's the one that put her there. I mean, and if you know them, they, if you look through all out history, all the stuff they do, I mean, they only appoint people that they can blackmail or that they have in their pocket. I mean, I don't trust her. You know, she may make some decent decisions every now and then, but you know, like if something really pivotal came up, like something really important, I think maybe she would be on her side. You know.
Your sound is still going in and out. It'll be loud for a second, then way in the dinky weeds again.
Truthfully, I'm not. I mean, I heard, the only thing I heard him say was that the Clintons appointed her. And while I'm not a fan of the Clintons, I really respect Ruth Bader Ginsburg. I seriously disagree with her decision in Kilo v. New London. And I think that generally people we need to stop calling out like who's a Republican, who's a Democrat, who's a